know how to see a whack MC when he bustin', but I just back away real cool, no fussin'. I'd rather go kicking in the streets with the bums and use the knowledge to collect what? Some funds. Open a non-profit and build a damn school. And this is the story of how a great king rules. There's many that claim to know the local demographic, but don't have the nerve to tell you the truth. It's tragic, but I do, so sit back and let me spit this shit to you. You feel better when I spit this shit to you. Despite the system trying to clamp down on the people will learn how to stand up to evil. Not evil that's across the globe, that's too far, but evil that lies in their own backyard. And fighting, it's not an option, they can't win. The government, it's not supposed to represent sin, but then again they do, and that's a problem. So let's go down and figure out how to solve them. It's not fun being a rapper that can't speak, but we do, yes, and plus we make fat beats. Yo, we smoke weed, break up trees. Listen, bringing fat beats, that is our mission. You wanted to see us, homeboy, shut up and listen. Thelonious and Big Benny, brother, check the vision. Mentalities of different realities. Enter the Star Trek room when you hear the boom. I be the Walkman with the super bass. Automatic stop, yes, stereo cassette player. With the delayer, freaky lyrical sprayer. Extraterrestrial rhyme sayer. I be the poetical VIC/master of the ceremony. Testimony, won't you come step with me? I'm on a historical journey. Kinda like Sigourney. Implore me to represent the attorney that represents my niggas, go figure. It's the card, they call me Uncle Bigger. Niggas love your blunts, down your liquors. I be the parallel to the fiction. You fixated on this brother's nature. Relaxed behavior, I might save your change. Flip it, rearrange. The whole concept, yo, is good for all your brain. Insane, psychotic, neurotic, black onyx, and hooked on phonics, just atomic. Beats like a bonnet. Cut with the Asiatic, they all up on it. Rhyme static with the Bulgatic type of skill. You wonder, is this nigga Vic really for real? It's still, but only necessary in the berry. I'm milk like dairy, they quite contrary. That's scary, but I'm a dog in the prairie. I scurry to grab my bones and just bury. Lyrical flurry, go get your secretary with impeccable diction. My style might vary, so get a hold of your own shit real fast. Fucking with us, we take it right out your ass. Prairie dogs chill while the other dogs howl. Too many dogs get sent to the pound. Back on the hill, me and my peeps just lounge. Prairie dogs, we keep it on the down. Splatter, don't like gun splatter. We try to climb the ladder, wicked men get better. They make it like splatter, but it really don't matter. Cause you know we coming back to our sons and our daughters. To follow him, the one who protects ya. And the mother, she will never neglect ya. Through divine nature, the people respect ya. And in this way I deliver my lecture.
Check 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. All right. All right, y'all. Here we go. Back at it again. It is Friday, February 20th, 0930. That makes it in Central European time. That would make it 0330 Eastern Standard Time, America, and 1230. Right, midnight Pacific time. I want to welcome everybody back to the program. Hope everybody's doing well. It's been an interesting and revealing couple of days, and it continues. I mean, I'm having mixed feelings myself about what to make out of these arrests. You know, obviously Prince Andrew, quote unquote, or the artist formerly known as Prince Andrew, has been arrested and released now, but up on charges of, you know, some kind of, you know, state issues, you know, revealing information, blah, blah, blah. And we get that. I totally get that, right? How it's going to go, we don't know. But I'm being cautious about the arrest. I'm happy to see them. There's been people getting fired across Europe. And I'm pretty sure there will be more arrests because, listen, there's reported now to be not just, do me a favor. Let me know about the audio too. Let me just do a double check on this audio and see how it's looking. What is it? What happened to the audio here? Did it pop up or go away? Yeah, well, you just let me know how the audio is sounding. And But in any case, it appears that people are getting fired, and it's not just 6 million Epstein files anymore. It's 100 million Epstein files. Oh, thank you, Roni. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's 100 million Epstein, 100 million Epstein files. This looks like there's going to be a whole lot of people implicated. So the mere fact that I heard from Les Wexner yesterday, and that we see an arrest of the artist formerly known as Prince Andrew, yeah, 145, 45 Roni, 100 million. There's 100 million files, yo. They thought it was a million before. It was like a million. Now it's 3 million. Now it's 6 million. No, it's 100 million files. That's the reporting. That's what the reporting says today. Yes, Edward in the house. That's what the reporting says today. 45 Roni, like straight up 100 million. And shit, let's make it 200 million, for example. I mean, why not? Because this is an operation that went on since the Epstein files go back to 1980s. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of whole shit. There's a whole lot of shit going on there. There's a whole lot of hooting and hollering, and there's a whole lot of what is that song? There's a whole lot of something going on, right? There's a whole lot of something going on there, and apparently Epstein was and I don't like putting this all on Epstein. I'm not comfortable with it anymore because, listen, everybody's looking for a fall guy, right? It would be nice to have a fall guy, package it up, put it away. Hey, problem gone. We got rid of him, that individual. Nah, man. Sasha Riley, if you take Sasha Riley's accounts of what happened to him, serious, you have to believe there was 4 billionaires in charge of this thing. And one of the billionaires was Trump, and Epstein was their subordinate in the 80s. That's if you want to take Sasha Riley's accounts serious. Now, obviously, you'd be a complete utter asshole to just dismiss Sasha Riley's accounts without going in and examining and investigating them deeply, because his accounts are riveting, and he bothered to put them on audio. And by the way, folks, for some of you that never heard it, did you know Sasha Riley has a Facebook page? Yeah, he got a Facebook page, and it's out there. As a matter of fact, damn, maybe I need to just go. I added him on Facebook. I went and added. I'm a follower of Sasha Riley on Facebook, and yes, it's real. Matter of fact, let me just open that up real quick so people I know people don't think I'm bullshitting, but for those that don't watch the program regularly, it's worth going in there and making sure that's a fact also, right? So let me see here. Isn't it this one? Is this, hold on, or is it this one? Here we go. Yeah. So let me go over to Sasha Riley here. Appreciate that, Roni. I appreciate you. Let me see here. Now, let me get out of this and let me just say Sasha Riley. I mean, I'm not a follower of many people, to be honest. Here we go. Now, where is it? Hold on, let me see. How do I find out who I followed? Matter of fact, all I have to do is do this. If I'm doing this right, I can look back and see who just posted. Right. I'm sorry, I'm not that great at on Facebook for some reason. I don't always know the quick moves to make. But let me see. If I go back to this, here, let's see here. If I go back to this, here we go. And I just do this. Boom. Here we go. Now, I think if I click here, I can see Sasha Burrows is his name. So you see here. Oh, y'all can't see this. Let me put this. His name is Sasha Burrows, right? And that's his real name, Sasha Burrows Riley. I believe William Sasha Burrows Riley. Now, his page is riveting, and he has some deep remarks on his page. Now, let me just go to one of his posts and you will see like what I'm talking about. But in any case, Sasha Riley in his audio tapes, right? Did I say so? Yeah, Sasha. In his audio tapes, he says that damn, am I spelling any of this right? I'm sorry, I'm just getting off to the, is it Burroughs? Wait a second. Why is this not happening right? Sasha. Oh, it's here. I gotta look. Right, here we go. I'm so silly. Barrows. Sasha Barrows. Now this is his page. Now why is this page coming up like this? This is what I don't understand. I'm trying to get, here it is. So if I go like this, then you can go to his page. This is his page, y'all. This is Sasha Barrows. And if you want to follow him, just go right to his page, click follow like I did. And, then you can observe. I guess he's a tattoo artist maybe, or he enjoys getting tattoos. I don't know, either one. But he's alive. He's a real person. He goes through his parents' history. He got photos of his parents. He's got a lot of documentation here on his Facebook page. But what is riveting is he has his accounts here. The same accounts that he gave them in written and, also at different times here in slightly different language. But he summarizes the audios also. The same things that come into the audios tapes that he did about Trump, about who else is it? Trump and Clarence Thomas and all these people. He mentioned like different people. He gives accounts here also in written, right? And his accounts of what went on, I'm telling you, they are horrible. They are horrible. They are horrible. They're not something for a child. You cannot let a child read this. Don't let a child read this, because this is not what is expected of, no child should have to envision this kind of sickness on earth, So I'm going to put his link. I guess you all can see it. I'm going to put his link, his Facebook link in the chat for people that want to, subscribe, or I forget what you call it on Facebook. What is it called on Facebook? On YouTube. It's called, follow, right? It's called follow on YouTube. Here's his page right there. And then he also has, this right here for you. He has his audio tapes here for people that want to hear his own words on what he said from himself without filtering it through somebody else and without having to ask a question to me like, if he did this, then how come he didn't do this? You don't have to ask me none of that. You can just take your ass over to you can just take your ass over to to this YouTube page and ask him and ask everybody else here, you know what I'm saying? So they can curse your ass out. Okay? For asking this stupid ass question. Here we go. So here we go. That's the YouTube page of his audio of his audio tapes. And here's the thing. It's let me see. 45 Ronnie said it sounds like they were trying to make sure they had people in the pocket for later in the Supreme Court. Yeah, in government. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what the type of operation that it sounds like has been going on for 40 years in the United States of America. So if you've been around for 40 years in the United States of America, the last 40 years should be some very strange years to you. And for me, as an American citizen, the last 40 years have been strange. I was 15 when this shit started happening, reportedly, and things got strange from that point on. That we had all types of things. We had the Iran-Contra scandal, the invention of crack. You know what I'm saying? We had the crack epidemic spread, a whole damn epidemic spread across the United States. We had so many different things. We had war. We had so many. We even had 9/11 in there. Now, just think about this. I got a program. I'm putting together a program just to examine the similarities between this and 9/11 and you got to ask yourself, if these people were moving and shaking like this in 85, 90s, and they were rolling like this, what's the chances of any of them knowing about 9/11 before it happened? What's the chances of any of them saying things about something like 9/11 before it happened. And keep in mind, they have one photo. There's one painting. I don't know how prominent the artist is, but there's a painting out there of Bill Clinton, the same artist who drew a picture of Bill Clinton. They have a picture of him also. You know, the Bill Clinton in the dress with the red shoes, right? Something like that. Blue dress, red shoes. That same artist has another picture painting of Bill Clinton playing, or Bush, I think Bush, yeah, playing with the 9/11 towers after they were hit to the ground. Like, so I'm just saying, I'm not saying that Bush had anything to do with it, because remember, deception and disinformation is always a tiny bit of truth masked in the lie, a bit of truth to get you to bite onto the lie. So whatever it is the picture was trying to tell you, if you thought it implies Bush has something to do with it, that may not be what the purpose is. But the idea that something was at play, that someone else knew something about it beforehand, that might be very relevant. You see what I'm saying? So just keep that in mind. Now, yeah, but in any case, I just wanted to start off with that. If you take Sasha Riley's accounts, right, then that paints a very vivid picture of what has been going on. And like 45 Roni said, you know, they're not just doing it for the sake of this. This operation didn't just exist for people to have freak offs with little kids and all that. This was about blackmail, extortion to get people in high places, to control them, to control government. And this is what American citizens should be thinking about. And even if it's only true a little bit, you should want to find out that little bit and stomp that shit out like you never stomped anything out ever in your life. Because do you want to be paying the taxes while someone else is controlling you? Because if they control your government, they control you. If they control your government, that means you are not free. So if you got 100 senators and they control one, you're only 99% free. If they control 10, you're only 90% free. If they control 20, you're only 80% free. You see what I mean? It starts fucking with your freedom, right? It starts fucking with how free you are. You know what I'm saying? And your ability to live your life freely. And that's not cool in a democracy. I don't know why anybody will want to roll like that. And I'm not trying to spook anybody out. I'm just saying, shit, it is what it is. Democracy, you vote and you pay taxes. There's something called taxation without representation. When the game is rigged because somebody's been blackmailing the people that are your representatives, then, hey, that interferes in the sovereignty of your country. That interferes in your freedom, period. There should be no other explanation needed after that. That's how I look at it. So, yeah, I don't want to hear none of that. But we didn't mean it to happen like that. No, it happened like that. That's exactly what you fucking doing. You fucking with people's lives and shit. And you need to stop doing that. So, yeah, you know what I mean? Exactly, Jermaine Northcross. And this goes for any country. Everybody should think that their sovereignty is threatened. Everyone should think their security and their freedom is threatened when this kind of shit is going on. That's exactly what it's designed to do. Rob you of your freedom. Like, seriously, and rob you of your sovereignty. That's what this was about. No operation goes on that long if it's just innocent about people freaking off. No, this shit is about power. You know what I'm saying? And the have-nots also, but power. You know what I mean? And those who have power, real power, and those who don't. And I'll be damned. In a democracy, in a free and fair democracy, it's the people that's supposed to have the power. Period. You know. So let's, in light of that, let's celebrate still these initial arrests. You know, even though, you know, in 100 million files, you know, 1 or 2, 3, 4 people going down, getting fired, a handful of people getting fired, one person getting charged will not do. It just will not do. It's just not anywhere. That's just an inkling, you know, of what has to happen. So, yeah, but let's start off here. At least it started. At least it started.
Years that a senior member of the British royal family has been arrested. And this monumental moment is now raising questions for President Trump about accountability right here in the U.S. When asked about Andrew's arrest and whether anything similar would happen here, here's how President Trump responded.
Well, I'm the expert in a way because I've been totally exonerated. That's very nice. So I can actually speak about it very nicely. I think it's a shame. I think it's very sad. I think it's so bad for the royal family. It's a very, very sad. To me, it's a very sad thing. It's really interesting because nobody used to speak about Epstein when he was alive, but now they speak. But I'm the one that can talk about it because I've been totally exonerated.
I mean, the question right now for a lot of people is, why does there seem to be a much greater appetite overseas for accountability than there is here? And then a secondary question, as you heard the president there, it's always about him, always, as opposed to about the broader concern that people have for justice for the victims here.
Yeah, I was struck by the tone in his voice there, how sad it was. It feels like that's genuine empathy.
Yep. You see that? He picked up on something. He sounds sad for himself while he's saying the words of something else. Like he's not sad. I'm the one that can talk about it. But the tone sounds real sad when he says that. And he's not talking about the victims. That empathy does not extend to the victims. Listen to this shit. This shit is weird.
This is the first time in almost 400 years.
I got a new keyboard, y'all, so I'm back to my old self. Thank you.
That a senior member of the British royal family has been arrested. And this monumental moment is now raising questions for President Trump about accountability right here in the U.S. When asked about Andrew's arrest and whether anything similar would happen here, here's how President Trump responded.
Well, I'm the expert in a way because I've been totally exonerated. That's very nice. So I can actually speak about it very nicely. I think it's a shame. I think it's very sad. I think it's so bad for the royal family.
It's a shame. It's sad. It's bad for the royal family.
Very, very sad. To me, it's a very sad thing.
Wow. He just jumped right over that shit. Like nothing about victims.
It's really interesting because nobody used to speak about Epstein when he was alive, but now they speak. But I'm the one that can talk about it because I've been totally exonerated.
I mean,
so he's clearly telling, it seems to me like he's sending this message out there. I mean, this is my view. Like he's saying, if you speak, you could create more trouble. So don't speak. That's what I get out of his comment. It's sad people are speaking about it. People never used to speak about it. Now they're speaking about it. And look what happened. Andrew, a good guy. He's a good guy, Andrew. Like, back to this whole thing.
Question right now for a lot of people is, why does there seem to be a much greater appetite overseas for accountability than there is here? And then a secondary question, as you heard the president there, it's always about him, always, as opposed to about the broader concern that people have for justice for the victims here.
Yeah, I was struck by the tone in his voice there, how sad it was. It feels like that's genuine empathy for the people being brought down for this shocking level of corruption. It's more empathy than...
He has empathy for the people being brought down.
You hear, for example, when he talks about the death of Jesse Jackson, or when he talks about disasters in states governed by Democrats, there was something genuine in there, which was gross. But this is a darkness that just continues to expand, right? Not just the horrible abuse and torture and God knows what else that happened to girls and women, but some of the world's richest and most powerful men trading secrets, getting rich with each other, and the impunity that they thought they had. I mean, I think that's what is terrifically shocking. And I do think there's a demand for accountability in this country, and politicians are going to have to reckon with it.
And remember, the Trump's Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, let me play what he said not long ago about whether there would be anything coming from the DOJ more on the Epstein issue.
In July, the Department of Justice said that we had reviewed the files, the quote Epstein files, and there was nothing in there that allowed us to prosecute anybody. Now, there's a lot of correspondence, there's a lot of emails, there's a lot of photographs, there's a lot of horrible photographs that appear to be taken by Mr. Epstein or people around him, but that doesn't allow us necessarily to prosecute somebody.
Listen, let me ask this question. Everybody in the chat, put a 1 in the chat if you want the Epstein files to be fully released with only victims, that's trafficking victims, names redacted. Put a 1 in the chat if you want all the Epstein files to be released.
Can you be so sure?
Put a 1 in the chat if you want all the Epstein files to be released with only the child trafficking victims' names redacted. Put a 2 in the chat if you don't care or it doesn't bother you, you know. And I'm just curious because people like to say a whole lot of stuff. You know, I watch the chat. I try not to block too much things or read everything that's in the chat. But every once in a while, I notice some comments, and it makes me want to address some of the views there. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me see here. I saw somebody say something like, but y'all still support Hollywood. Do I support Hollywood? What does that mean? Does wanting the Epstein files to be released and supporting the victims, how does that suggest you support Hollywood? What? I don't get the connection. So I'm just getting to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, where is it? Put a 1 in the chat. If you want it to be released. You know, if you don't, put a 2 in the chat. But I could see the people that make those kind of comments, they don't participate. They don't actually participate in any other way. They don't want to answer any questions, you know. So that's okay. You don't have to put a 1 in the chat, Max. That's okay. I figured that much. But and you know what? This is accountability, but some people don't even like a tiny bit of accountability. So let's go. Let's go.
And how much longer, I think, is that going to fly when it seems to there's a great desire, not just on the part of the victims, but on the part of Americans to see more in terms of, at the very least, investigation and accountability here?
Yeah, I think you are going to see some investigations.
I mean, you know, somebody said, but y'all still like Hollywood. Y'all still support Hollywood. Yeah, but you still support this Department of Justice. I mean, what's more important? If you don't want accountability within the Department of Justice, you don't give a fuck what's going on in Hollywood. If you're not into this right here, in the center of it where justice is supposed to happen, if you don't want justice to prevail in the DOJ, in the FBI, in the White House, then you don't care about nothing else that's going on that's a crime, especially sex trafficking. So how could people be like, you know, but you care about this, but you don't care about what's going on in Hollywood? Boo-hoo, man. Stop bringing out the boogeyman ghost and get on Real Time. Did you vote? Go register to vote. Whoever made that comment about Hollywood, get your motherfucking ass down to the electoral office in your state and register to fucking vote. Because I guarantee you probably didn't. Like, seriously.
The more that's come out. I mean, remember, President Trump's the one that released all this. This wasn't released before him.
That's how you got
Biden
Trump.
Never released all these, and he had them. So I think it's a testament to him that he did release them. And as you said, this is the first time since 1647, Charles I getting arrested. It's a terrible thing for the royal family. King Charles is going to be here in April. This is not going to go away. He's going to be asked about this here. I'm sure he's unhappy about having to go through that, but he's going to have to go through it. The press is going to be on him on it. And I think ultimately, by the way, you said, you know, this is for men.
Main thing is Trump did not sound like he was happy about Prince Charles's arrest. He sounded empathetic, like, damn, like, it's so bad they're bothering to do this. This wasn't around in my day. I didn't have to deal with this. It's so unfair. Another rich folk go down for something like this. I mean, that should have been the comment. The comment shouldn't have been nothing about Hollywood. The comment should have been like, good that little sick bastard is getting some accountability. Good the people of the UK are getting some accountability. Clap your hands if you like that there's a little accountability. I mean, come on, just a little bit.
He's going to be asked about this here. I'm sure he's unhappy about having to go through that, but he's going to have to go through it. The press is going to be on him on it. And I think ultimately, by the way, you said, you know, this is for men. There's a woman in jail right now. So this was men and women that were doing this. It's a terrible thing that's going on. And it is amazing that someone like Jeffrey Epstein had this kind of power, that he could, even after being arrested and put in jail, he's meeting with Prince Andrew at the time. I mean, that is...
Listen, y'all, did you know that Jeffrey Epstein tried to purchase part of the Pentagon? Did you know that? Yes. He tried to buy part of the fucking Pentagon, and the U.S. government military was going to rent the property from him. Did you know that?
Yeah. Remarkable that was going on. And others in this country, you know.
Yeah, there's a long list. I mean, to your point,
yeah.
There's a long list of people so far that have stepped aside, but here's another list. These are big names that are mentioned in the Epstein files who haven't done anything. I mean, there's, of course, Trump. That's a separate issue. Howard Lutnick, RFK Jr., Steve Bannon. I mean, gosh, even MAGA is asking why there are no consequences for him. Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Les Wexner, who was just deposed this week
You
by
left out President
Congress.
Clinton. You left out President
Clinton, yeah.
President Clinton.
Yeah, don't forget to leave out Clinton. Don't forget to leave out Clinton and Hillary Clinton too. Okay, stop saying Republican names, because every time you say anybody else's name, I'm going to have to introduct and say, "Excuse me, don't forget the Clintons."
You left out the one Democrat there.
President Clinton is coming to
Yeah, you got to say Clinton first and shit these days, you know.
before Congress.
Yes.
At the very
As he
least, none
should.
of these other people
I
are.
think the people who are not in the Epstein files and are not on the list, put those folks aside. I think this is an issue that
Pizzagate. You know, this is what kills me about this. There was so much of this MK12, QAnon, mind control shit out there that they could have all the theories out there. Pizzagate, you know, they could be serious. They was going ham. Motherfuckers were about to kill people over Pizzagate until they found out that that wasn't the real actual scam. Then they just like, we don't want to hear nothing else about it. No more Pizzagate. It's like, nah, you were right when you said something was fishy going on. You just don't want to really look where the crimes are. That's the problem. And yeah, if Hillary Clinton is in it, I don't give a damn. Why should it matter to you? Why can't it just be everyone be exposed? Everyone face justice. Why can't it just be we all stand behind all of the files being released because they pose a national security threat to every single American alive today? Why can't it just be like that? Why can't it just be like, if there's a crippled in there, let's get their name out there. If there's a fat person's name, let's get their name out. If there's a tall person and a short person, we want their name released too. If there's an itty bitty little munchkin, release his goddamn name also. Release the gay person's name. Release the straight person's name. Release the man's name. Release the lady's name. Release the, come on. Release the rich, the poor, the middle class. Release the barber's fucking name. Can we get that? Can we release the person that was doing the nails? Can we get their name too? Why can't we just be in agreement that everybody gets released? I mean, it's crazy, man.
across parties, that what happened in that cabal of powerful, extremely
Release the dog's name. I want to know the name of the dog, the name of the cat, the name of the little hamster and shit, and the bird's name and shit.
wealthy, the folks who did it, disgusting people. Folks want them to be held to account. And you did say there is a woman in jail, but it's so funny that there's only one person and that it is a woman in jail when the accounts of the survivors are that it is men and not just one woman or one man, Jeffrey.
That is also incredible. The fact that it just happens to be the one person that is serving time is a woman.
Epstein, but many, hundreds of victims, and there are not hundreds of people in jail. And so I've said it before, I'll say it again, that math does not math.
I agree.
And because the reason why this now spins into politics is because the Trump administration, officials in the Trump administration, and so many in MAGA made this conspiracy theory come to the forefront and make it be a promise. Now the files are released, but that isn't justice. Releasing is not persecution for folks who have done wrong. That is the thing that now this administration is going to have to really circle it around and see if they can close this gap. And if this is the administration that does it, good for them. But to date, because you have Todd Blanton saying that nothing else is going to come of it, there's a lot of questions.
Well, and there's too many names that are blacked out in these emails for no reason.
And I don't like
there's
it.
an email with a name black. You're like, why is this name blacked out?
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
And there's a lot of defensiveness coming from DOJ about why those names are redacted. And they seem to be, again, more concerned about protecting the names of people who they claim are innocent.
Yo, somebody said something, Jermaine, year of the exposure. I remember last year around this time, people were like, they all gonna get exposed. But where are the people those were the QAnon people. They were like, they all gonna get exposed. All of them gonna get exposed. But now, for some reason, there's a split in that MAGA group. There's a split in that Trump support. There's a split in that anti-Hillary Clinton alliance. There's a split in that Clinton, Kamala, Obama alliance, Biden alliance. Now, half of them don't want them all to be exposed. That is very, very telling. That is very, very telling. It's crazy.
I don't know. I think people want to.
But listen, if the people, one thing you can know for sure, no matter what, no matter who you are, and no matter what your theory was, if the people did not want justice, did not want to see these files, they wouldn't be getting released. That's for sure. If CNN is talking about this, it's only because they recognize, no, the multitude of American people want this, because legacy media, they got that tax break from Trump. Fox News, CNN, all of them got that tax break from Trump. And I have to tell you, they are not the best at reporting. So I have a little empathy for people that went along for some of the manipulation, right? The early manipulations about these kind of things, and politicized them. I have a little empathy for them, because legacy media could have filled in the blanks if they were doing their job. You know what I mean? If they wanted to tell you why you don't have health care and what the difference in the healthcare systems are in the rest of the Western world versus the USA, they could do a comprehensive story on that if they wanted, but they get that tax break and they don't do those stories. It's the same thing with education. They get that tax break and they don't do those stories, so they don't mend the gaps in the understanding. They allow people to think all kinds of wild things instead of just doing their goddamn job. Legacy media, you are fucking to blame too. How can all of this shit? Where are the top-notch news reporters? Where are the secret reporters that's supposed to go in and bust stories wide open? This shit was buried. So I don't blame the people that caught on to the conspiracy, you know what I mean, instead of the actual conspiracy, because no one helped them. They were left for dead to just pick up little bits and pieces over the internet anywhere they could get it. So I don't blame those people. At this point, we need to come together. All people, no matter what you thought the conspiracy was, learn how to be practical and address this issue, like, seriously, because and frame it in a clear manner to where something can actually get done. But the legacy media, they just pulling up the end. In Danish they call it the Rosina i pulsen. That means, like, the little end of the hot dog that's like a little raisin. It means you're coming up last, basically. They're coming up last in the story. It's sad.
See any evidence that maybe anybody is being looked at, being questioned. Let me just actually play this. This is Les Wexner. He was, just for context here, Wexner is a very wealthy billionaire. He is the source of a huge sum of Jeffrey Epstein's wealth and has been connected to Epstein for a long time. He's denied allegations that he was involved in the wrongdoing, but here's what he said when he was asked if he was ever contacted.
Has the FBI or DOJ ever directly contacted you or spoken to you about
Not to my knowledge.
Never.
Never.
Did you speak to any law enforcement agency of any kind regarding Jeffrey Epstein's investigation in New York in 2019?
Never. Didn't. No, I don't remember ever talking to any law enforcement agency.
How is that possible?
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, I think to everyone's point at this table, Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, they were not trafficking young women and children to phantom people, right? And I think that MAGA's base brought this to the forefront of the conversation. They were the ones who got Trump to really listen, because this has been to your...
Yeah, it's true. I mean, they were. MAGA folks, and even people that believe these conspiracy theories, I don't think you should just run away and go back into the shadows, but just bite onto the real conspiracy. Because look, I had this conversation last year before the election, and I knew that people picked up on conspiracies that were specifically designed to frame it against Democrats. Ergo, do not vote for Kamala Harris. That's what a lot of these conspiracies were concocted to be. But there was a real conspiracy out there. And I said what I thought the real conspiracy was. And I said, this is an attack on the United States of America. That's what I said. I didn't politicize it to be one way. What I said was that Trump is a billionaire He's part of the billionaire class. He doesn't give a fuck about everyday people. He's going to lie and do the exact opposite. You're going to lose your home. You're going to lose your health care. You're going to lose. That's what I said. And that's exactly what is happening right now. I said Trump was going to divide Americans, put them against each other. That's exactly what he did. And he's going to walk in Elon Musk to get all your private data. That's exactly what I said last year. And that's exactly what's happening here. So, there was a conspiracy, but people, allowed others to twist their conspiracy. And again, there's a lot of foreign agents involved. Russia wanted Trump to be elected. So they play a role in these little, QAnon, Pizzagate theories, right, where they can kind of shift, where the direction of the conspiracy goes. You see what I mean? And they could politicize it. That's exactly what they did. And China also wanted Trump to win. They wanted this. I mean, this is what what has been exposed the entire time. Now, even Trump does not dispute ties to Russia. You see what I mean? So, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. But listen, when you say both parties, you cannot therefore support any. If you say both parties, and a lot of people say that's what they say in defense, it's both parties. Well, is it all individuals? That's what we're talking about. Are all Republicans billionaires, for example? Do all Republicans do exactly the same thing? Do all Democrats do exactly the same thing? No. So the generalizing thing is the same as saying nigga, bitch, hoe, cracker, faggot. That's what generalizing does. It just allows you to do nothing now. And so I don't usually say it's both parties because that's too elementary. What you want to know is who is involved and who's not. That's really what you want to know. And so you're not going to get to the bottom of who's involved if you just generalize. Then you have no options, right? And I think that's really where they missed it. I didn't hear too many people last year, MAGA people, say it's an attack on the United States of America. That's what I said. Now, what do you think is more accurate? Do you think it's more accurate to say it was an attack on the United States of America? Or do you think it's more accurate to say it's a liberal, conspiracy? Or it's what do you think is more accurate? I mean, it's up to you. It's up to you, because that will tell me a lot about how you frame things and where you think things need to go. So put a 1 in the chat if you think the Epstein files are more about a conspiracy against the United States of America, and put a 2 in the chat if you think it's more about a liberal conspiracy in the United States of America. I'm just curious about that. I'm just curious, because when you say an attack, that means you don't give a fuck what political party it is. Okay, that means you don't simplify it and try to stop people from voting by saying it's just both political parties. No, motherfucker, you need to get out there and vote. Get your ass out there and vote anyway. And if you have a choice between the first woman that's ever been the vice president in the country's history, in a country that has suffered with misogyny, and a damn near the best friend of the most prolific pedophile trafficker on earth, you choose the best friend? You choose the best friend? The only thing that can make you choose Trump is if you didn't believe it was an attack on the United States of America and that you thought it was just a liberal conspiracy. That's the only thing that could make you choose that dude, because there's nothing positive about Trump. Kamala Harris was not the best friend of Epstein. People have to, it's nothing wrong with having conspiracies, but you got to come to terms with it, and you got to learn how to frame it. I see it as an attack on the United States of America. That's how I approach this. I don't leave out guilty individuals from any party, but I frame it in a way where Americans can come together and do something about it. That's what's important,
Point. It was, kind of maligned as a conspiracy theory 10, 15 years ago. People were QAnon if you said that there was a cabal of elites who were doing this to children. And President Trump had his ear to the ground. He listened to them. And I think that there are supporters out there who are saying, okay, we have these redacted files, but where is the accountability coming from that? That being said, I think two things can be true at once. President Trump has begun to release them. We still haven't seen the type of accountability that most people want to see when it comes to children being sex trafficked. Two, polling indicates that this is surprisingly, as much as we talk about it, not as big of a campaign issue as something like immigration, economy, crime. And I think that you see President Trump trying to focus on those things, which is why maybe he comes across as flippant sometimes with Epstein, just because he's saying, okay, here's what the base cares about, here's what the voters are saying. So I don't necessarily know if it's him just saying, screw the Epstein files. I think he's just saying, this is the priorities right now. I'm speaking to them.
I've just never heard him say anything about the victims. It's as simple as that.
My dear sister, I'm still in very deep grief and mourning for my dear brother, Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson Sr. And he's a product of the black prophetic tradition. It goes all the way back to Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass. Martin King died saying what? America is more and more becoming a spiritually sick and morally decadent society because integrity, honesty, and decency is being pushed to the margins. It's all about money, money, money. Power, 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 with no mechanisms of accountability of the strong to protect the weak or those so-called everyday people. Now, part of the genius of Jesse Jackson, given his humanness and faults and foibles, was he tried to keep alive a lifting of voices, which is the anthem of the black freedom.
Yeah. Actually, rest in peace to Jesse Jackson. I forgot to say that yesterday. Yeah, but I did post something about Jesse Jackson, some of the simple things he was able to do. Jesse Jackson wasn't a popular politician, but he was able to influence people without even being a politician. I mean, and that makes him very unique, in a sense. But in any case, let's go on.
Voices that are self-critical, because we know all of us are flawed. All of us are cracked vessels just trying to love our crooked neighbors with our crooked hearts. So it's not a question of just skin pigmentation, or gender, or sexual orientation. But there is a spiritual sickness so deep that this is just the peak of the iceberg.
That's right.
Okay. So, here's some difference. I myself, there's some things that the brother says right here, Cornel West, Dr. Cornel West, of course, I shouldn't have to say, I respect the man, because his accomplishments and what his level of knowledge and his abilities, command respect. So I respect him deeply, period, but I also was a little concerned about how he couldn't necessarily, I don't know, maybe choose moments a little bit better last year, because I'm going to tell you, me, myself, I will never do things that, how can I say this? I'm never going to be choosing the same timing as the KKK unless I'm speaking out against the KKK. I'm not going to show up and, make comments that the KKK can utilize, or that people like Trump can utilize, or that, in the Trump administration, they seized on some of his comments, right, that I thought, wow, it's very unfortunate, because they will use that to win this election. And they did, not just his comments, but there's a few people that made comments. And it was over the Palestinian issue, the issue of Israel and Palestine, right? And it's not that there's a long history to that, but I also thought that, wow, look, there's a lot of Palestinians because of that support Trump. And this is what I don't do. I'm not going to be supporting anybody that MAGA supports like that. If you're supporting a person because they're a straight up bigot, you know what I mean? I'm not doing that. But that's what people did. They saw it as Biden had this policy. Kamala Harris won't be no different. Don't give her a chance. She won't be no different. So I'm going to vote for Trump just so I can get different. Well, now you got different. You got different from Biden. Was the different good? No, the different wasn't good. Would you have gotten something better had you voted for Kamala Harris? Could you have gotten something better than even what Biden presented to you? Possibly. Did you find out? No, you didn't find out. You didn't walk through that door. So that's where I kind of, wonder. But outside of that, I understand even right now that I'm saying I had some difference of views in how he articulated that. There's a lot of MAGA people that just ain't going to like him, period. There's people that's going to call Cornel West a fraud. There's people that's going to, they're not going to take into account anything that Cornel West says, period, just because they don't like everything else that he represents. You know what I'm saying? And that's a very interesting dynamic, I think, in American politics, so that's why I'm happy to play him.
It really is. When you rip the veil off of what has been happening, especially in high places. Now, I don't think that the rich are born wicked. They can choose to be decent, but they can become parts of culture that reinforce, or subcultures that reinforce their sense of impunity and lack of accountability. So the question really becomes not so much being preoccupied with the sickness. The question is, how do we talk about regeneration? How do we talk about revitalization? How do we talk about a renaissance of integrity, honesty, decency, service to others? And Brother Jackson, he gave us all.
Yeah,
I really did.
Yeah, people mentioned that people chose Jill Stein, the Jill Stein that was visiting Russia and shit. People chose her, and Cornel, I don't know how deeply involved Cornel was with that, but he did kind of support this fringe of Jill Stein voters. But my whole thing is like, you have to work with what's possible. You got to be realistic. And the Jill Stein, they haven't done the work on the ground to get people's votes. They haven't done the work to build up anything on the ground. What they've done essentially is only show up when it's election time to steer away votes from the Democratic Party. So although there's a lot of people that disagree with Trump got more people or enough people to agree with him. And I think that's where we have to be cautious. And I think this time coming around in 2026, there's not going to be a whole lot of room for the doubters out there, the people that just doubt based on party line. I doubt Dems. Dems have done this. Stop thinking that way, because they're individuals that are running for office. It's not, these are people that have different views. Dems don't all agree on the same thing. So you have to actually listen to what the person in your state is actually asking you to do and why they're actually asking you to do it. You can't just cover your eyes and say, I'm not listening. That's a Dem. Forget what they're saying. I don't want to hear it. Now I'm interested in politics. That's not how it works. You're only interested in politics when you really listen to what they are saying individually. It doesn't matter if you're listening to a Republican. Just listen to what they say. Trump told you he was going to give the billionaires a tax break. Why didn't you believe him? I believed him when he said that. And I said, oh, hell fucking no. I can't go for that. When he talked about all these other policies, you could hear, if you really pay attention, you could hear he's not talking about any policy in a comprehensive manner. So ergo, does he even believe what he's talking about? Or is he just saying it to get votes? He was just saying it to get votes to help his rich elite. And you have to be engaged enough to be able to read between the lines, y'all. That's really what this is about. I don't give a damn whether he was a Republican. I don't give a damn whether Kamala Harris was a Democrat. You have to actually talk like you know what you're talking about and show signs of it. Trump shows signs of, in my view, of only being for the rich, just straight up, and using the poor, using poor white people to get his vote, and using those poor white people against poor and middle class everybody across America. That's what I saw. So I didn't vote for Trump. I voted for Harris, Here we go. Sorry about that little delay.
To your point, it's so integrated into our society. I went to Ohio State. I lived in Columbus for almost a decade. Wexner's name is all through the city. Buildings, hospital centers, the brands that many of us the millennials use to be part of our identity, the Limited, Express, Bath and Body Works, all of that, Victoria's Secret, all of those things that felt so part, the wealth that was generated through, and if he has connection. So it really is, you say pull the veil back, it could be the beginning of an empire beginning to fall if we cannot find the moral clarity in this moment.
And I think to your point, Dr. West, where it starts with there needs to be accountability.
Wow. That's interesting when you hear that from CNN, this kind of commentary. Well, again, y'all, listen, American people, no matter who you voted for in the last election, no matter who you support right now, understand this. If you're not going to vote, you're giving up your rights. If you're not going to vote, you're giving up your rights, no matter what you believe. You see what I'm saying? And you need to get out there, call your state electoral board and find out what the exact registration process is for this midterm election. You need to do that for yourself as an individual. Don't rely on someone else to do it for you. If you got a telephone, if you're on the internet, you have an hour to make sure you contact your state electoral board to guarantee that you are able to vote. Guarantee that you are on the voting registration logs right now. And if not, guarantee that you know how to get on it, the exact procedure, and quote them. You see what I'm saying? Like, this is what you have to do if you want to get something out of your taxes. It doesn't matter who you are. That's how the process works. It works the same way for Democrats as it works for Republicans. And the same reasoning is applied. You pay taxes, you should be able to decide at least a little bit of what happens with the tax dollars you pay on a state level and on a federal level. Okay, so just make sure you get out there to vote, because right now, as you can see, the act that is still out there, it's the Save America Act that has been passed through Congress and is now sitting in the Senate. They're fumbling their thumbs around with it. They don't know what to do with it. It's about your rights and your ability to vote. Now, we went over this. I hope folks go see this last stream that I did about that, because some of the details are important. Don't just believe what anybody tells you. You need to go out there and read the information yourself from read the actual bill. Read the actual bill. You see what I'm saying? And you can ask for help, but make sure you're going over the information too, because, man, there's a lot of people that don't want you to vote right now. I'm just going to put it that way. And you should be happy that somebody is telling you use your vote and register to vote. You should be very happy right now about that. Anybody telling you to register to vote and to go out and vote is your friend in this moment. Someone is telling you it doesn't matter, or ain't nothing going to change, or anything else except go register to vote, find out how to vote, make sure you're registered to vote, and vote. The people that are saying that, it doesn't matter what party they're with, they're your friend. You see? So in any case, let's go on now.
Today, the House Oversight Committee released video of yesterday's deposition with billionaire Leslie Wexner, the man who made Jeffrey Epstein rich enough to run an international sex trafficking conspiracy. Under oath, Leslie Wexner told the committee he had no idea that his friend was an international sex trafficking pedophile.
Can that work? If you were arrested, let's say you were arrested in a car. The guy has 100 keys in the trunk of the car, right? Of the truck. And you just getting a ride from your friend. You get pulled over. Are the police going to let you go? Are they going to let you go and say, oh, you had nothing to do with it? You just hanging out with your friend, spending his money, having a good time all the time, but you got nothing to do with it. Are they going to let you go? You know what I'm saying? This is the argument that the rich and powerful can make. The argument that no way in hell will a poor or middle class person ever get away with in the United States of America. Do you understand that Pam Bondi will hang you in the middle of the street and lynch you if you're poor and middle class and you use that excuse about any goddamn crime? This shit is ridiculous, but it's in plain sight. This is what they say, hiding in plain sight. He's going to give you his excuse just right out there in the open. Some shit that just doesn't work for nobody else. Nah, man, they're gonna take your kid and make you snitch on this guy in the truck. You're gonna have to do something for your freedom. You're not gonna just be out there like, I didn't know. Nah, arrest Les Wexner and make his ass snitch. That's what they supposed to do. That's what they do to everybody else. Take their mama's house, take their daddy's car, take their sister's kid. They gonna do everything to get you to snitch, and you won't be coming up with that excuse. I didn't know, we was just my friend partying and shit. Yo, what the fuck?
I think the perspective.
Trafficking conspiracy. Under oath, Leslie Wexner told the committee he had no idea that his friend was an international sex trafficking pedophile.
I think the perspective that I have now, and I think it's really important for this group to understand, is that.
Listen up, y'all. He's talking to you. You're this group. You're the American people. He's going to tell you something important.
As I look back at it, I was conned by the world Olympic all-time con artist. And you look at, I read in the news all the people he knew, royalty.
That don't mean you innocent. Being kind doesn't make you innocent. It doesn't matter. I mean, being kind into buying. Look, isn't that what happens all the time? Being kind into buying the FBI can come in and ask you, do you want to buy a kilo of cocaine? And if you say yes, motherfucker, you convicted. That's it. They can con you into a crime. Criminals can con you into a crime. What the hell is he talking about? I was conned. I guess this is short language for he conned me into sleeping with little people and got me on camera. I didn't mean to do it. I mean, this may as well read as a confession, basically. He was conned. Yeah, we get it. They're all conned. Okay, we get it.
Time con artist. And you look at, I read in the news all the people he knew, royalty, kings, princes, and all that. An incredible con artist.
I'm gonna have
Leslie
to use
Wexner
that.
opened a store in Ohio in
I'm gonna use that one the next time I get stopped and shit. Yana, I was conned.
1963 that quickly became successful, and he built that business into a worldwide empire of thousands of retail clothing stores that made him one of the richest people selling clothing on this planet.
Right. Do you still believe he was kind when you hear that part? The richest people selling clothing on this planet. Do you really believe he was just kind? Okay. What a coincidence.
Mr. Epstein thought.
I mean, usually when you part of the crime, you get the rewards. You know what I'm saying? Like
You two to be friends.
Pizza guy, what's up? This is so crazy, man. The pizza guy, what the hell? Good looking out, pizza guy, for the memberships, man. Appreciate you, bro. Yeah.
Objection.
I'm gonna put the link for the hop up in here.
I don't know what he thought.
Leslie Wexner says that he handed over his entire fortune to Jeffrey Epstein's control. He gave Jeffrey Epstein the power of attorney to sign checks, to sell assets that belonged to Leslie Wexner, to do anything Jeffrey Epstein wanted to do with Leslie Wexner's money. But now Leslie Wexner says he didn't think they were friends. Even though he contributed the second creepiest entry in Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday book, outdone only by the one with Donald Trump's signature on it, which includes a drawing of a naked woman and the line, "May every day be another wonderful secret." The man who had trouble calling Jeffrey Epstein a friend under oath yesterday admitted giving to Jeffrey Epstein this birthday card signed, "Your friend, Leslie."
Did you yourself write this letter to Mr. Epstein?
Sadly, I did.
All right, let me just go back and review that. I put the link in the chat, y'all, for those that want to hop up. Anybody want to hop up and got a few words to say? Let me see here. Let me go back. There's a few things I wanted to cover first before we hop up, but let me just make sure I get this real quick. What? Look at this shit. What is this, man? Look at this. Oh my goodness. Let me just blow this up. This man sent this letter to Jeffrey Epstein. This is what he's talking about. He knew nothing about it. I didn't know nothing about it, Your Honor. It wasn't me. Vote blue in the midterms. Yeah, please vote blue for your life. Like, straight up, please. Like, because they don't want you to have a country anymore or rights. Listen to this. Look at this. This is the letter. This is what he's talking about. I wanted to get you what you want. So here it is. Happy birthday, your friend Leslie. Right? This is crazy. Look at this shit. Look at this. This is Mr. I was conned Wexner. Les I was conned Wexner sent this letter to Jeffrey Epstein in his birthday book. Look at this. And this is 03. This is 20th 03, right? 2003. Yeah, there it is right there. But at least anyway, I don't even want to make an ass out of myself, but this is it, y'all. Just see this. This is his letter, but he knew nothing. He had no idea. He had no idea what was going on. I mean,
Jeffrey Epstein, this birthday card signed your friend Leslie.
Did you yourself write this letter to Mr. Epstein?
Sadly, I did.
Did Miss Maxwell approach you to write this letter for Mr. Epstein's birthday?
I think the request was to write a card or a note or something for a birthday book.
Yeah, man, but you went way all out. You went way past what you was asked to do. Damn, he may as well wrote a picture with a little girl with her legs spread and shit and been like, happy birthday, man, take it all. You deserve it. It's like when someone asks you to write a birthday card, is this what comes up in your mind? You know what? I'm going to draw some breastises on it and I'm going to give you the letter. Everybody's going to see this birthday gift. Like, it's not a secret. This is just normal, man. People going to see this as, What about the man's wife? What about anybody else? So it's obvious. It's obvious. I mean, it's obvious that the defense mechanisms were way down. The ethics and the morality of it, were brought way low in their relationship. And he said they weren't friends. Look, just bring that back. He had the nerve to say that they wasn't friends. This is what he argued the whole fucking day. It's just business. I have a friendly relationship with my business people. This is what he said. I didn't have animosity towards my business people. It wasn't a hostile, situation. It's just we were friends.
Your friend, Leslie.
Oh, no, it's just we were friendly. We weren't friends. He said we weren't friends. We were friendly. Okay. Yeah, this is crazy.
Did you yourself write this letter to Mr. Epstein?
Sadly, I did.
Mm-hmm. I bet you regret it now, don't you? Sadly, I do. Do you feel bad for the victims? What victims?
Did Miss Maxwell approach you to write this letter for Mr. Epstein's birthday?
Miss Maxwell, the lady who's been convicted of sex trafficking, who's been accused of physically assaulting little people herself, and even accused of death, killing, wanting little people killed. This is the dude that he did that for. You know what I'm saying? Like, that person who's been accused of those type of things asked him to do a letter, and he just said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw some breastises on here. That's a great idea.
I think the request was to write a card or a note or something for a birthday book.
Yeah, we not friends. Here's just, you can just get my mansion in New York. I don't know if what he technically paid for that mansion. You know what I'm saying? But I would tell you this much. Yeah, it's suspicious as hell. This is a very tight knit group and small niche group of people. And normally it would be called a friendship. It would be called my homeboys, my associates, these kind of things. Everybody has people. Just because you kick it and you party with people, it doesn't mean you know everything they do. But sometimes you know a lot. Sometimes you know a lot about the people around you that you kick it with. I mean, yeah, that's how it works. Does it mean you're going to snitch on them? No. It depends on how bad the goddamn crime is. I mean, listen, if I'm sitting around, I'm just going to be honest with you. This is how I lived my life as a younger person. Yeah, let's say in DC when I was growing up, smoking weed was illegal. Right. Okay. Did people care? No. The average person in DC didn't give a fuck about any law like that. People smoked weed like cigarettes. Okay. And me too. I didn't give, and that's cigarettes. That's a whole lot because people tend to smoke a lot more cigarettes, but you get what I'm saying. I'm talking about with the same kind of leisure with no thought about it. Did people therefore, were they called criminals if they smuggled weed around and, ounces and pounds of weed? Yeah. Did people care? No, not at all, because people saw it as this is a lesser crime. This is not as bad as crack. This is not as bad as cocaine. I'm not going to be, I don't care. I'm at a party, man. I want to know who got some goddamn weed. It's the weekend. You know what I'm saying? I'm just being honest with you. Now, today the law is different. You see, today the law is totally different. Weed is legal in DC. You can have up to a certain amount of pound. You can have a pound of weed on you, damn near, I think. And you can have 6 trees in your house. Like in your home, you can grow up to 6 trees now. You can smoke. They can't even use it as a reason to stop you weed smoke anymore. So the law has changed. So of course you have associates that do things, and you're going to make a distinction about what the level of criminality is going to be before you decide if it's something you're going to involve yourself in or not. You know what I'm saying? Because these are bonds you have over a certain amount of time. Obvious, right? This dude has somebody sex trafficking. His associate is sex trafficking thousands of people. And listen to what he's saying about that. Now, the bottom line is, you ain't going to be sex trafficking little fucking girls around my ass, motherfucker. You going to jail. I'm snitching. I don't give a fuck. I'm snitching on you. What are you talking about? There's a level of decency that have to be maintained. You know what I'm saying? You can't just be doing any goddamn thing. What the fuck? Goddamn. And listen to his answer. He's like, oh, well, I didn't know nothing about it. He's just my friend. It doesn't make any sense if you ask me.
Did that come from Miss Maxwell?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I bet you don't remember.
Mr. Wexner, would you please read the main body of the birthday note for the record, please?
I wanted to get you what you want. So here it is. Happy birthday, your friend Leslie.
And what was your understanding of what Mr. Epstein would want?
He was a bachelor, so I drew a pair of boobs. As a kind of a joke and offhand.
No. Oh, so again, it's back to this joking thing. I'm joking with my business associate. It's not friendship. We're not friends though. Stop calling us friends.
I hope you do.
You've said a few times throughout this deposition today that you did not consider Mr. Epstein a friend of yours. However, you signed this letter, and I quote, "Your friend Leslie." Why would you sign "your friend Leslie" to someone you did not consider to be a friend of yours?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good ass question too. He didn't say my business associate, your best business associate, Leslie. He even said Leslie. I mean, who does so business? Hey, Leslie. Okay, that's fair enough. But he says your friend. And this guy's answer is I don't know. So there's no accountability. He tells people he doesn't know why. So that means he take no accountability for that. He can do that. He can flip flop anytime he wants because he's able to get away with this. I mean, he's got the money. He doesn't need to be accountable. But if you went into a court and you did that, what do you think they would do with you? I mean, what would they look? I don't even have dreams of anybody giving me the type of latitude on any goddamn crime. Do you know I've had to pay? I paid a damn parking ticket, a driving ticket. I started to go to court and I went halfway to court because the police said that I ran a red light. And I had my homeboy in my seat, in the passenger seat. I was taking him home. He's a master electrician. He was doing some electrical work on my flat. And I was doing him the courtesy of driving him home because it was the fucking weekend. And that was the deal I made with him. I would pick him up and I would drive him home, get him some coffee, bread, this kind of thing. And we could kick back and talk because we don't get an often time to kick back and talk either. So that kind of thing. I was driving him home. The police said that I ran a red light. I even saw the police trailing me before I even entered the light. I entered the light when it was green. I paused because there was a bicycle. I didn't want to fucking create a danger to the fucking bicycle. And yeah, the light changed. The bicycle was in the road. So I wasn't the one holding up the traffic. It was the bicycle holding up the traffic. When the bicycle moved, I continued. They didn't stop me at that light that they claim I ran through. They waited, ran my plates at another light. And then when the next light turned green, then they put on the sirens and pulled me over and said, you ran a red light. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So I went to court to fight it because it was two officers and me and my, so it's two witnesses, right? And then in the middle of the case, the second day of the case, I just decided, man, fuck this. I would just pay the fine. It's 5,000 krona. But to be honest with you, I didn't run the light. So people like myself pay fines all the time for shit we don't do. I got a ticket. Listen, twice this year. This is an early year. Twice this winter. I got a ticket for being checked in on it's something called a riser card that you use when you're traveling. I got a ticket because I checked in before I went to work. I forgot to check out and I'm on my way home and I'm still checked in. I got a ticket for still being checked in. That's not even legal. I don't think I had to pay it, but they tried to charge me and I had to call to complain. Now I got another stop. The guy said that I checked in only just a minute ago. That's also illegal. He's going to try to give me a ticket. I'm going to have to call it in. You see what I'm getting at? What I'm getting at is even when I'm doing shit right, I get the fucking ticket. Even when I'm doing shit right, I get a fucking charge. That's how most regular people live their fucking life. It's loads of people like me out there. And then listen to this dude. This is what he say.
You said a few times throughout this deposition today that you did not consider Mr. Epstein a friend of yours. However, you signed this letter, and I quote, your friend Leslie. Why would you sign your friend Leslie to someone you did not consider to be a friend of yours?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's all he got to say. I don't know. Now, no, I should have said that to these people. You know, I mean, when they approach me or anything, I don't know. That's not even what you see what I mean. It's like two different alternate realities and shit, you know. And I'm just saying, this excuse has never been good enough for me ever in my entire fucking life. Period. No, from nobody. Not in school, not on the street, not from another criminal. Not from the police, not from nobody, not just nowhere. That downtown in the government office, I don't know. Guilty.
Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett asked Leslie Wexner about Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump.
Under the taxpayer's expense. Absolutely. That's exactly what it is, Paul. That's exactly what that is, man. It's just, it is what it is, man. And, but the bottom line is this what the American people going to accept? If the reality is not, if you can't use that excuse on your taxes, I don't know. Why did I not do this on my tax work? I don't know. Is that an excuse you can use? Okay.
Did you ever spend time with Epstein and Donald Trump?
Together?
Yes.
why is it taking him so long to answer that question? You know, and I could almost guess it was going to take him some time, you know?
I would answer this
And the people that love pedophiles, they're going to make an excuse about this.
accurately. I would go to some of the Victoria's Secret fashion shows because it's very important to the brand. At some of the fashion shows, Jeffrey was there and some Trump was there. And I remember because Trump would always introduce himself to me. And I always thought it was kind of odd that he was at the fashion show because he had nothing to do with fashion.
You know, yeah, there's a lot of broke asses out there that really don't like people criticizing Les Wexner. I mean, there's broke asses out there. You know what I'm saying? He's a billionaire, lived the life of a king. You know what I'm saying? Sends birthday letters and shit, you know, to a sex trafficker with a breast on it saying, "My friend, I'm going to get you what you want, my friend." And then you got dumbass, broke ass trolls out there. Leave this man alone. Please leave him alone. Don't you dare talk bad about Les Wexner. Okay. All right.
Back with
You
us,
do
Congressman
you,
Robert
Playboy.
Garcia, top Democrat in the House Oversight Committee, present at that deposition yesterday. What was your assessment of his testimony?
I mean, look, Wexner is just not credible, and he wasn't credible during his testimony. I think it is so outrageous, and I'm not sure if Wexner thinks he can just pull a fast one on the committee and the American public. But to say that he was not friendly or not a friend of Epstein's is such a blatant lie.
Yo, pizza guy, you absolutely right. He had to think a long time about answering that question. He had to take some time to wear out the variables. You know, how is it going to impact him later? Because they, you know, obviously you ask people questions like that you kind of already got the answer for, or you believe you might have some answers for it already. So he's like, should I try to get over on them again?
Let's be really clear. I mean, Wexner gave Epstein hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of his own fortune. Wexner gave Epstein the co-presidency of the community he founded in Ohio. He provided him the power over his entire estate. He gave him payments to then pay gynecologists for God knows what.
What?
They were friendly. He went to the island. He went to his properties. He wrote him birthday notes. They talked on the phone. They saw each other at a...
He paid for gynecologist visits.
But they were not friends.
And he never thought like something strange about that. And they're not even friends. This is what he does out of business. You know, what kind of business you got? A trafficking ring? It's just business.
Let's be really clear here. Wexner is the reason that there's a Epstein Island, that there's an Epstein plane, that there was enough fortunes and wealth to abuse and rape and terrorize women and children across this country and around the world. That is in large part because of Wexner's fortune. And Wexner has the audacity to sit there and tell us that he wasn't friends with Jeffrey Epstein. It's outrageous. It's unconscionable. And I think that the American public should be as furious as we are at seeing what's happening right now in this country. We are seeing the most powerful billionaires, the most powerful people try to cover up this enormous, horrific sex trafficking ring, probably the largest in the modern era. And the abuse of these women and these children, they deserve justice. And Mr. Wexner is an enormous part of why this harm happened to so many people.
People who've studied this have said there could be no Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking conspiracy worldwide ring without Wexner's money.
It's exactly right. It's just not possible. And you have to think also that Wexner gave essentially the power of his entire estate to Epstein. Epstein was cutting checks and making investments and going into business and doing all sorts of favors for Wexner. We've got to end this cover-up now.
Yo, Cornhammer, that's not true. You know, all people didn't know. And to be honest, I don't think you know everything. You know what I'm saying? To be honest with you. And I think that's not the proper approach. I think you're learning new things too. And I think whatever you thought you knew before, you've adjusted it a little because you've learned new things. I think that's what reasonable people do. Now, there are some people that knew some things, but to come off like, this thing, the island is sound, we all knew what these people are saying. No, man, no, that's not true. And maybe if you were just watching QAnon, that everybody in there agreed and knows everything. But look, even those people are finding out things. Loads of those people are finding out and making adjustments. Why? Because a lot was hidden from them too, right? It's one thing to think you know everything when there's an election cycle coming up, because, a lot of people try to use information to steer them towards what vote they should make. But it's another thing to actually really know all the information when it hasn't been released. And I'm going to tell you, disinformation is not knowing it all. There was a lot of disinformation out there that that's still out there, that's not necessarily factual information, reliable information. So, just be happy, man. Join the club. Be happy that something has happened. Demand more justice. Why don't you do that? Let's say vote and demand justice. Why don't you make a comment about what's going on? Let me ask you, Cornhammer, is the Trump administration doing well right now with releasing the Epstein files? Yes or no? If the Trump administration is doing well releasing the Epstein files, put a 1 in the chat, Cornhammer. If they're not, put a 2 in the chat. I just want to gauge where your mindset is with this, because some people, just when things are starting to be released the proper way, right, disagree with that and don't want it released. So let me just be clear. Do you want it released? Is Trump doing well with that? Put a 1 in the chat. If he's not doing well with that, put a 2 in the chat. I'm just confused by that. But look, let me see. Pizza guy. Okay. I see you in the back chat. Yeah. I think it's okay to criticize, but I've heard these comments a million times. I'm sorry, because I've been communicating with a lot of people too. And let me tell you, I knew some things also, but I wouldn't dare say everybody knew what I knew, because a lot of people were wrong. And I pointed out something that some people definitely didn't point out. And these were people that were talking about some baby eating and stuff like this a long time ago, that, they learned a little something from my ass today. Okay. So, and every other day, you see what I mean? So don't get me wrong. They knew some things, but nobody knew it all. And the only people that knew it all were people who are part of this conspiracy. You see what I'm saying? So let's just keep that in mind. Everybody else is a victim. If you weren't in on the scam, you didn't know it all. If you were in on the scam, you pretty much knew more than anyone else. You see what I mean? And that's one of those Trump comments. It's true. Trump is like, everybody's talking about it now. What about before?
Sia, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Yeah, but in any case, don't worry. I mean, you still welcome, man. Now this is part of his. I don't even know how much of this we need to go into. This is part of his deposition. I just find it a little strange here. Let me see here. Do we even need to go into his deposition? Let's skip past that, because there's some different things going on. I mean, you heard basically he wasn't being too forthright, essentially. And and that's just how it is. That's just how it's going to be with this type of situation we got going on. They're not really going to be forthright, and that's pretty much what you want to know. A lot of people knew things about Lex Wessner, but one thing you didn't know is before yesterday is how he was going to answer these questions. We could assume, we could have some idea that he wouldn't tell the truth. I even thought he wouldn't be telling the truth, that he's not going to be forthright, and it appears that he wasn't being forthright. However, I didn't know he wrote that email or that letter. I didn't know that. I found that out. That's a new one to me. And so let's see what else is out there on the breakdown. Let's see here.
The biggest legal breakthrough in the Jeffrey Epstein case ever, which is saying something other than his indictment and, of course, Maxwell's indictment now. Prince Andrew, or the former Prince Andrew in the UK, arrested only because of material that came out from the Epstein files. I'm Ari Melber, lawyer and journalist. This is a report on what we're learning there. I'm going to talk first about that breaking news and then a bit about another Epstein development here in the same week. Les Wexner, his former business client. The Prince Andrew news is huge. If you think about where we started with people saying, is there more to this story? Or, gosh, it seems like governments, both the US and abroad, kind of dropped the ball, or were they pressured to drop the ball, or why didn't more happen? This is the kind of news that confirms those questions were on the right path. Because if you think the UK is on the right path now, that they're actually pursuing people that were exposed in the Epstein files, including former...
I mean, all right, so I see A1 rising, or is rising. I'm sorry, A1 is rising. Let me ask you this. Just serious, though. Do you agree with this administration in the way they're releasing these files? Put a 1 in the chat if you agree, because that's what I'm asking you, so I can understand where you're coming from. Put a 2 in the chat if you don't agree with how this administration is dealing with the files. Everything else I can't understand, because to me it seems like you're kind of riding a thin line, you know what I mean? And I don't like to do that. I like to be very clear. My comment is I don't agree with the way this administration right now is withholding the files. Okay. See, I'm talking about what can be done today. You know, and it's very important for everybody to be very clear. Like, what do you want done right now? You know, and that's what I don't hear in your comment. I'm just saying, you know, you're talking about yesterday. What about right now? Nothing. You can't address the people yesterday. If you want something done for these victims, you must address what's going on right now. You must. So everybody want to know your opinion about right now. Let us know your opinion about right now, because that's what we're discussing right now. I don't know most of these people in this chat. A lot of these people knew all kinds of shit just like you, man. You ain't no different. Did they know it all? No. Did I know it all? No. Who is? The only people that could know it all is the people that are part of the conspiracy. You see what I mean? So come on, man. Let's what do you want done right now? Is it AI rising? A1 is rising. A1 is rising. Okay. Yeah, let people know what you want right now, man. Come on. Chime in on this administration. Are you criticizing this administration, or are you happy with how they doing things? I mean, very simple. If you're happy with how they doing things, put a 1 in the chat. If you're not, put a 2 in the chat. Also, you, A1 rising.
Remember, governments have a lot of this information. We're learning about it in journalism or the public, but governments have all kinds of ways of gathering lawfully surveillance or subpoenaing materials. This information was in the custody of the US government, which of course is close to the UK government. And Andrew is now facing an investigation for at least whether he misused material or information in his public role as a royal back in the day in the UK with Epstein. And then there are other allegations against him that we don't know if that will be maybe brought up in this case. But Epstein survivors have publicly said alleged that he was basically part of an international trafficking wing, and that Maxwell and Epstein, one of them deceased, one of them in prison in the US, helped take underage women to him, which is an international crime, would be a crime in the UK as well. So this is a huge development. I was covering it today, and it's one of these things where you say, wow, this is happening all over the world, even though there's a contrast to the Trump administration, which is not acting on these things. Indeed, they tried to hide these files. Remember, if Donald Trump had his way, none of these files would have come out. None of these accountability measures would be happening. Certainly not in the UK, what we're seeing there. It's also the first time in 400 years that a royal has been arrested. That's one of the kind of measures people were using and talking about this as the news broke. The other thing I want to update about, and you're going to see a lawmaker who I spoke with brand new in a moment, is this Les Wexner interview. This is a Epstein business client who ultimately did break ties with Epstein many years ago, and also said that,
you know, yeah, somebody, here we go with these comments again. The last president was Biden before Obama. Okay, and guess what? The first president of the United States was George Washington. And so what? I mean, okay, we're talking about what do you want done right now? So you also, not Tune, I'm sorry. You also, damn, my phone ringing. You also, Clown, what's this guy's name? Just Me. Do you agree with Trump's handling of the Epstein files right now or not? That's what we want to know. You could put a 1 in the chat if you agree, put a 2 in the chat if you don't.
That Epstein misappropriated or stole money from him. We have a paper trail on that. We knew about some of this, and we knew Les Wexner got some of that money back from Epstein. But the files have...
A1 iRising is like, it's not, look at this. It's not 1 or 2 because people need time to let the email get absorbed. Sorry, I don't know what the hell you talking about. I don't need time. I read and comprehend very, very easily. What the hell? If you don't give me the information, I can't read and comprehend it. What the hell you talk about? I don't know. I think you talk about your own level of intelligence, brother. Like, seriously, like, be serious. Now, the bottom line is I'm talking about you with your level of intelligence. Are you happy with how Trump is releasing the files, the DOJ? Put a 1 in the chat if you're happy. If you're not happy with it, for you, only you, put a 2 in the chat. Stop thinking about other people. You're not nobody else's master, right? You're only one person. You only got 1 vote. Okay? That's it. You don't vote for other people. You vote for yourself, man. Keep it simple. Okay, but you can see where this is going. It's just utter bullshit, you know. So let's continue. Some folks gonna be on the gutter anyway. So
a lot more intrigue, and I'm just going to show you again.
I'm expecting, you know, that some people don't know what they need to be registering to vote pretty soon. So
in journalism, we try to go through this stuff, and I'm going to go through a couple of them with you right now, and then show you that a lawmaker who I just interviewed, Congressman Garcia, says he thinks Wexner was lying in their new deposition. That's a big deal because if true, that could be a new crime if you had a DOJ that was pursuing this or a later administration.
People say, what do you want done? The same person asks, what do you want done? It's very simple. I want what the law requires. I want the files released, everything except the victim's name, the child sex trafficking victims' names. That's it. There's nothing complicated about that. What's wrong? Did somebody not get the memo? I mean, and I'm not happy with the fact that they're not following the law that was just passed, the law that the American people, both MAGA people got behind. And yeah, did you know Republicans wanted that released too? Did you know that? So what fringe group of voter are you? You don't even stand with the Republicans on this shit. It's like, damn, I don't get it. They wanted it released. Okay.
Wexner, among many things, we now know privately, secretly emailed with Epstein. And at one point, and the New York Times also reported on this in a story about leverage, we know that Wexner was told by Epstein, I owe a great debt to you, as Frank.
Everybody knows what the law says, A1. I want what the law, let me say it slow for A1. I want what the law says. Everything released except the sex trafficking victims' names. Okay? Very simple. Stop playing stupid.
Epstein then wrote, quote, I couldn't have answered these questions without violating a confidence with you. Many questions I didn't answer, talking about some of the allegations against at least Epstein. He said we had, quote, gang stuff over 15 years. I had no intention of divulging any confidence of yours, no matter what accusations were made. And then he says about this one woman, she made quite a few. He said, I'd ask you not to raise your shoulders and purse your lips and tell your wife I have no idea what he means. You know, this is not just coming out of nowhere. These men shared a lot of business, social time together. And after this falling out, the question that investigators have, or should have, is what Epstein meant by all this. Was this an effort to gain leverage or blackmail? Then there is a June 14th, 2014 email that Epstein appeared to send to himself, mentioning things about Wexner, saying, quote, mother suicide, bankrupt, never ever did anything without informing Les. Now, you can read that in a number of ways. That could be.
Whoa. What? What is this? Yo.
That Epstein appeared to send to himself, mentioning things about Wexner, saying, quote, mother suicide, bankrupt, never ever did anything without informing Les. Now, you can read that in a number of ways. That could be about the financial dealings they had, where they had a dispute over what Epstein did with his money.
Yo,
Could be
pizza
about other
guy.
things.
Peace to you, bro.
There's another really
Appreciate you.
exchange, again, from the new files. We didn't have this before, where we see on a different email, because apparently Epstein had more than one email account, in 2008, Wexner says that he heard about this result, quote, "All I can say is I feel sorry. You violated your own number one rule. Always be careful." And Wexner sends this Thursday, June 26, 2008. Epstein replies, "No excuse." These are of a kind of interaction that shows more than just perhaps business dealings. But Wexner, now finally brought in for this deposition, again, only because of the public pressure in the files, says they weren't really friendly. He called Epstein's island crummy. He sort of tried to distinguish this and said he was basically duped by a diabolical con man. Those are his words.
Right. And obviously these communications point to something else. I mean, yeah. I mean, and again, even if you were duped, you being duped into committing crimes is not an excuse. You're still guilty of the crimes. I don't get it. It's to me, it's, if you ask me, it sounds like when he uses that language, like he's admitting guilt. When he says I was duped into doing it, it's like me being caught with a gun in my hand, and then I turn to the person next to me and say, he made me do it. That's basically what he's saying. Epstein made him do it.
The congressman was in this.
And the only question is, what exactly did Epstein make him do? What did Epstein dupe him into? And I'm not believing it's just financial. There must be something that was in a reason why he would just give all this opportunity to a guy like Epstein, while knowing what he likes, according to him. It just, come on, it's reeking of I'm a guilty man. I've been caught red-handed, but he made me do it. I mean, that's what I read from it. That's what I read from it.
And he tells me, brand new, that he thinks Wexner was lying. So I'm going to show you that coming up. What we see in both these stories, in the UK, where there's actual legal accountability, and now in the United States, where Congress is picking up this thread, is the evidence matters. If we'd gotten all these files released and they were not revelatory, if independent fact finders, governments, journalists said, oh, well, I guess we knew this, or it's just more of the same, that would be different. And it's interesting because some people want to just do theories or discuss what's interesting. News is always something people tend to talk about all over the world. As journalists, we are trying to really follow the facts. So it's not just a theory or what would be interesting to speculate on. These files, the deposition, what's going on in the UK suggest there was a lot more there. And so if the DOJ, under both originally the Trump administration's first term, but then later.
Oh, there's a lot more there. And the DOJ is not going to be able to keep a lid on this shit anymore. I'm so happy to see other countries doing stuff about it. Thank you. The people of the countries that have lawmakers and have criminal justice systems that are doing something about this, that are concerned. I give you my thanks personally as an American citizen, because I know damn well you are helping, make sure that our own DOJ starts doing something, because most American people, it's just my opinion here, most American people do not feel like our DOJ is acting in the best interest of the United States of America or the American people right now, or the victims. A lot of us feel like they are covering up what is in those files, which is harmful to everybody, So, you can't be free and a slave at the same time. You can't be enlightened and concealed at the same time, have everything concealed from you at the same time. And taxpayers deserve better. Taxpayers deserve to know what they are paying taxes to. And keep this in mind. The same guy, Epstein, just so people around the world understand something, the most prolific sex trafficking blackmailer wanted to buy part of the Pentagon. This sounds similar to what Elon Musk is trying to do. Infiltrate into the Pentagon. You see what I mean? As the richest man on earth, trying to, get his Grok bot AI bot to be part of the communication system in the Pentagon. You know, this is what's going on is a danger. It's a danger, you know, and you can't keep saying that things are a coincidence. You know, people should be very concerned about, even if you're not an American citizen, you should be very concerned about what's going on in the United States right now. And also, and understand that what happens can have an effect on your life outside of the United States. Do you want a sex trafficker having control over the United States government? Do you want people that kick back and work with a sex trafficker, associate with the most prolific sex trafficker? Do you want them having control over the United States of America? Is this what people want? Because this is what it's looking like it can end up being if people don't step up, like right now. You see what I mean? Like the clock is running out, you know? Yeah. So thank you to the people that have governments that are taking this shit serious and doing what you're supposed to do when you see crimes have been committed, because you're playing a role in saving not only your own country but our country in the U.S. You know, straight up, seriously.
Certainly Merrick Garland, Democratic oversight of the DOJ. If it always treated this case as if, well, maybe Epstein or...
And we're going to take note of who starts prosecuting people, who starts firing people in their countries, and who doesn't. We're going to take note of that, because it almost seems like you might be down with the scam if you're not doing anything about the scam.
Ultimately, clearly Epstein and Maxwell committed these crimes for Epstein's physical activities, but maybe that's where it ended. That's how they treated the case. And there's a lot of evidence suggesting they stopped short, and that was wrong. We've heard survivors say maybe that was to, quote, protect powerful men, a cover-up, a conspiracy. There could be other reasons that relate to evidence. I'm going to do a future video breakdown about this reporting about another alleged co-conspirator of Epstein, Brunel.
The law, Jim Chain doesn't understand the law. Jim Chain says they weren't covering up the files. They were trying to protect people that didn't break the law. So many files, it took time. How do you know that? What the hell? But secondly, that's not what the law specifically says. Don't do that, Jim Chain. I hope you understand that. The law says you cannot cover up people's names due to reputational damage or anything like that. No. That means you're breaking the law. Okay, so we don't want people breaking the law anymore. Can you stop suggesting that's not a crime? Okay, Jim, stop suggesting crimes. You know, that's a crime what you're suggesting. They're committing the crime. They should stop.
We now learn only because of the new files to potentially cooperate. We have the internal FBI notes about that. Then he didn't. He went dark. Then he was arrested in Europe. Then he was found dead in a prison cell where French authorities said it was by suicide. Again, if you don't have clear transparency in investigations, a lot of people have questions about all of this. So we are seeing really remarkably quickly, when you think about the nature and the power of the people involved, accountability. Top banks, top universities, other institutions, UK, the arrest, and yet Donald Trump and his DOJ stand by continuing to try to fight the transparency that's bringing some of this accountability. Next, you're going to see Congressman Garcia, his assessment of what he saw. He was in the room with Wexner. Again, you try to go to the sources. He also indicates, and we don't have a denial from the Trump DOJ, that they didn't actually try to do their own interview with Wexner, who's someone who got Epstein rich, follow the money, and then later said Epstein stole his money, which would be a crime the FBI could investigate. So that also raising questions. But it's really striking after so much delay.
Yeah, they're basically running out of excuses.
To see multiple parties, the Congress, some investigators, journalists, lawyers looking at this, and now other countries and governments pursuing this long-delayed accountability. Now here's what Garcia told me.
Your committee has been pursuing leads that it appears the DOJ did not, at least fully. This was a big deposition this week. You spoke out afterward. You were there. Let's take a look at a moment with this former Epstein financial client.
Exactly, Ed. Exactly. They are covering up. I mean, it's terribly obvious, man. It's terribly obvious, you know, and but it's because, and it's becoming even more obvious as long as other countries do the right thing for their citizens, which is to make sure that their country's sovereignty has not been compromised by the Epstein files and by relations people have had with Epstein, right? To prosecute any type of connection where something like that could have happened is the right thing to do to protect the taxpayers and the sovereignty of the nation, the citizens of the nation. As long as countries do what they say they're doing, do what they say they're about, as long as they uphold their own standards and their own quote unquote morals, you know, we will do just fine. You know, it's only when we renege on those morals and those values where things go wrong at this point.
Did you ever visit his island in the U.S. Virgin Islands?
Yes. Jeffrey invited us to see it. And
appreciate you, Deborah.
We were on a boat, and we went to the island with our kids, walked around for a while, and left. Probably an hour visit.
Okay, an hour. So on that trip, do you recall seeing any prominent figures on the island?
No, it was a pretty crummy island.
So he doesn't recall anything, you know, he doesn't recall any prominent figures. Interesting.
Look at the information you got and what the files show, including Epstein repeatedly saying that Wexner owed him a debt, that he couldn't have answered these questions without, quote, in a different context, violating a confidence with you, which he says he didn't do, referencing defending him against accusations, and then saying, don't pretend you don't have any idea what I mean. Do you believe, based on the evidence you have, that Epstein was trying to blackmail him?
I think it's very possible. I mean, look, first, two things stood out in that deposition. The first is that Wexner was obviously, to us, lying. I mean, look, he kept saying that he wasn't friendly with Wexner, with Epstein.
You think he was lying to Congress?
I do. I personally do not believe he was being truthful in his answers. Yep. How do you describe your relationship as not friendly? He couldn't say that they were actually friends. Yet when presented with the birthday book note that he wrote him, he stood there in shock, which he signed, your friend, Leslie. He gave Epstein a power of attorney. No single person provided more financial wealth to Epstein than Wexner. Wexner gave hundreds of millions of dollars to Jeffrey Epstein. The reason there's a Jeffrey Epstein island and plane is in large part because of Les Wexner. And now Les Wexner is trying to somehow walk that back or say that he was unaware of what Epstein was doing. I'm sorry, but you don't visit someone's island. You don't go around palling around with someone in Ghislaine Maxwell, going to all of these fashion shows, being intimate, going to different homes without at least being friendly. And so there's no question to me that Wexner still has a lot of questions to answer from us. And he's absolutely, in my opinion, part of some kind of broader cover-up.
And you're saying you as a lawmaker in that room think he was lying, as we all know, lying to Congress is a crime. The bill that you helped pass demands various documents about Epstein from the DOJ. Reading from one section, it requests documentation.
You know, My Best Life Outdoors says, because maybe, just maybe, Trump didn't actually do anything that folks are trying to accuse him of, just because his name is in the files. Like, yep, there's a lot of names. What's the context of them? I mean, hey, you know, or maybe it reeks of something very horrible. Maybe it's true what the victims are saying about Trump. How about that? I mean, what if you accuse someone of doing something, My Best Life Outdoors? Should we listen to you when you accuse someone? Should we take you serious? Or maybe you're just lying. Maybe your reason is that they're just jealous. Maybe we could all say, nah, My Best Life, they just doing that. He's just saying that because he's jealous of them. He's jealous of all the accusers. People they got time to pick on Just Life. They don't. They just want his money. They just want his money. Best Life Outdoors. They just want your money, man. You know, listen, if you said someone did something to you, don't you understand that, you know, everyone could throw these excuses back on you too, man? I mean, come on, don't cap for someone you don't know. If you weren't there, you don't know. So I wasn't there. So that's why I'm saying release the files. I'm not stupid. Once I see all the files, I could put 2 and 2 together myself, man. I don't need anybody to tell me what happened. release the files. I'll figure the shit out myself. I'm that clever. I believe in my intelligence if you give me the information. See, and what you're stating is that people don't need the information to judge. No, we want the information so we can judge, have the best opportunity to judge. You don't want to be judged? People go into the court of law every day and are judged. Some people are judged when they're innocent. Some people are judged when they're guilty. I mean, what's the problem? We're only asking for the same thing to happen. Same thing to happen. People should know it's their tax dollars. Why do you pay taxes for something that you can't even see? You're paying taxes for the Epstein files to be concealed from you right now. It's your tax dollars that pay for that safe, that pay for that office, to pay for the security that keeps that office secure. You're paying for it to be kept from you. Does that sound so smart? They don't even trust you to make any judgments with this information, man. They don't even want you to have it. Come on now.
Around Epstein's detention and death, incident reports, witness interviews, medical examiner files, autopsy reports, written records detailing the circumstances and cause of death. In your view, has the DOJ complied with that? Do you have all of the known requested such documents?
I mean, absolutely not. I mean, the DOJ right now, first, they've withheld 50% of the documents at a minimum. I mean, the idea that half of the Epstein files they are keeping to themselves and not sharing with the Congress and the American public is outrageous. It's indefensible. They're breaking the law every single day, and it's on every single issue. It's not just issues related to Epstein's death. It's issues related around survivors, co-conspirators, the financial documents.
Right. It's true. It is true. They're keeping a lot. But let me see here. Listen, how many of you all feel like, how many of you all are registered to vote? Put a 1 in the chat if you're registered to vote. Put a 2 in the chat if you're not registered to vote right now. I'm just curious about that.
So clean.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm just curious about that right now. And yeah, because obviously there's an election coming up. I'm registered to vote. I believe I am because I voted last year, so my name should still be on the registry. But I'm going to double check pretty soon. That's part of the process, just to make sure my state, DC, still has me on the registry, because you never know. You never know. And if you're not registered to vote, put a 2 in the chat. Put a 3 in the chat if you didn't vote in the last election, and put a 4 in the chat. I know this is complicated. Put a 4 in the chat if you did vote in the last election. So I'm going to put I'm registered to vote and I voted in the last election. So that's a 1 and a 4. A 2 and a 3 is you're not registered to vote and you didn't vote in the last election, or you can just do whatever you want, however you want to do it. You see what I mean? Yeah, you could also write, I didn't vote, I did vote last year, or something like that. I voted last Thursday. Okay, there you go. Yeah, straight up to everybody. I know, listen, we all know that coming out, I can't vote, I'm from Canada. Okay, well then did you vote in Canada? Shit, but that's okay. I understand what you mean. No worries about that. If you in the U.S., it pertains to y'all listening in the U.S. I know myself, I know it's a process to vote. Even me, I live overseas, so I have to spend a little extra time voting. You know what I'm saying? I have to go down, get first of all, I got to go online and request my ballot. But if I'm not registered to vote, I can't even do that. So first, if you want to request a ballot, you got to put some information in there about yourself. You got to put your name, you got to put your U.S. address, and I got to put my overseas address. Those 3 things. And then I will be able to request a ballot, right? And if there's any change in address, I will have to re-register. If there's no change in my last address, I won't have to re-register. You see what I'm saying? So there's some things that could trigger re-registering. If you move according to this next act, let me just pull this up real quick for people. So we know, because I want to close out on this, because I know a lot of people do know enough to know that something's not right, something's being concealed about the Epstein files. So we know that part, but let me just pull up a few things regarding the election. Let me see here. What should voters be aware of in this Save American Act? Okay, who will it affect and how? Okay, I'm just going to pull this up real quick so people are clear about this. And let me go ahead and look at the questions. Okay, let me see here. Okay, but Batia, you voted. Okay, that's great. You registered. William, that's great, William. I got you, man. I appreciate everybody who's answering too. Yo, listen, this is what it's going to come down to, y'all. Like, listen, a lot of us are very different people. You know what I'm saying? But we know that that's how life is. That's what freedom is. You have the right to be different from me. You see what I mean? You have that right. I drink a little bit too much latte. I got to switch over to tea because I can see it might be affecting myself. I drink so much damn latte. I might need to change up my drinking habits, right? I don't drink too much alcohol anymore. I used to drink a little more than I do now. Now I pretty much cut out all alcohol out of my diet. Some people still drink. Some people enjoy eggs. I don't, I eat eggs, but I'm eating more salad now. Some people don't eat as much salad. Some people enjoy beef. I don't eat so much beef. I eat more so chicken as protein and vegetables, I'm eating a lot of soup lately, these kind of things. I dress differently. I'm not so conservative in my dress anymore. Look, we all have the right to be different. You know what I mean? We look different. We sound different. These kind of things. We love different. A lot of us love different. I'm on my business. I love who I love, and I don't have to explain it to anybody. But I mean, I am who I am, and I'm happy with who I am, right? But the thing about it is that we all still need to vote. And we all need to be concerned about this. We pay taxes. You pay taxes. And if myself, my taxes don't even go to the U.S. government because I live outside of the U.S. But I have to report to the U.S. government what I earn here. Still, what I earn in Denmark, I have to report every year. And guess what happens if I don't report what I earn? Guess what happens? They can stop me from having a passport. They can stop me from voting. Yeah, because you see what I'm saying? They can stop a lot now. They can stop things because obviously if you don't have ID, how you going to vote, right? So this whole thing about ID, we just want people to have ID. Man, I don't want you to change a motherfucking thing. I've already have to have ID to vote. I don't want you to change nothing. Leave people the fuck alone and let them goddamn vote. Let the states decide how people vote like the Constitution says. Like, just let it be. Stop trying to change things, but what it's going to change could be this. And people need to, let's go over it. People need to pay attention here to what it's going to change. And registration is the key thing people need to be very aware of. The first thing we all need to do, and I'm going to do it also when I get a chance, is we need to make sure we check with our local electoral offices to make sure we are still registered to vote. But I'm going to play a little bit of this and then we're going to be out here. Let's see here. All right.
The Safeguard American Voter Eligibility, SAVE, Act, often referred to in 2026 as the Save America Act, is a major piece of federal legislation designed to change how Americans register and vote in federal elections. As of February 2026, the bill has passed the House of Representatives but faces an uphill battle in the Senate. Here is a breakdown of what voters should know about its potential impact. 1. Key requirements for voters. If this act becomes law, the standard for participating in federal elections, presidential, congressional, would shift significantly. Documentary proof of citizenship, DPOC. You would no longer be able to register to vote simply by attesting to your citizenship under penalty of perjury. You would need to provide a physical document, such as a U.S. passport, a certified birth certificate, or naturalization papers. Strict photo ID at polls. The act mandates a government-issued photo ID to cast a ballot in person. While many states already have ID laws, the SAVE Act's requirements are stricter than most current state standards. Mail-in ballot restrictions. To vote by mail, you would likely be required to submit a photo.
All right. So look, it says strict photo ID at polls. The act mandates the government issues photo ID to cast a ballot in person, while many states already have ID laws. You see, so this is interesting because you would think that there's no states that have this, but a lot of states do. But a lot of states have other mechanisms also, right? Now, let's let it play again.
Copy of your identification both when requesting the ballot and when returning it. 2. Who will it affect?
So you see there, mail-in ballots, right? To vote by mail, you would likely be required to submit a photocopy of your identification both when registering the ballot and when returning it. And I already have to do that myself, right? In part of it because I live overseas. But I myself, I don't have a problem with that. But here's the kicker. I already have a passport. I already have a new birth certificate. You know, I'm born in 1970, but like maybe 10 years ago, I got a newly issued birth certificate, right? Because all I had was a copy of my old one. So I had to go to to DC and make sure and communicate with them and make sure that I got a newly issued one with a new stamp on it, right? That the State Department would be able to accept. I had to do that in advance. It took me some time to do that in reality in advance. It took me some money to do that in reality in advance. And so what I'm getting at here, people, is that it is going to cost you some money if they pass this law. That's what I'm getting at. So for a lot of people, if they pass this law, they're basically saying that you're going to have to pay money. Half of the American citizens do not have this ID, do not have a birth certificate or a passport. You need two things to validate, damn near, right? A lot of people are going to be in trouble if this passes. A lot of people that live in red states are going to be in trouble if this passes because more people live in red states. The red state people have less passports. The people that live in rural areas of America, they don't want to go back and forth to government office. They have to drive a lot longer. They got to drive a lot longer than people in cities to do this stuff. These are things that if you really support Trump, if you're a Trump supporter, if you're a Republican, you might really want to start thinking about this right now. I'm just saying it. You might want to think about this right now if this is going to work out for you well. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm just telling you, I'm a Democrat. It's going to work out perfectly fine for me. I already have a newly issued birth certificate, but it's because I do other things with that birth certificate. So I need it to be 100% valid for many different reasons. You see what I'm saying? You understand what I mean? Because I live abroad. Also, it's a passport kept up to date. I got my passport just 2 weeks before Trump took office. Because I was like, I ain't trusting this motherfucker for nothing. I'm getting my shit before he gets in office. Okay? I ain't playing no goddamn games with Trump. I want 10 years. The next time I want to have to see a passport, get a new passport, I want this motherfucker out of my life. That's exactly how I thought. And that's exactly how I went about it. You know what I'm saying? Now, but there's a lot of Americans that just should be concerned about this. Now, let me play some more.
While the act is intended to prevent non-citizens from voting, which is already illegal under federal law, experts and studies suggest it will most directly impact specific groups of American citizens.
Now look, what does it say? While the act is intended to prevent non-citizens from voting, which is already illegal under federal law. It's already illegal. States have already took measures to make sure that no person can illegally vote anyway.
Group. Potential impact. Married women. As many as 69 million married women who have changed their surnames may face hurdles if their birth certificates do not match their current legal names. Young voters. Students and young adults often lack passports or easy access to original birth certificates, which may be stored at a parent's home in another state. Low-income and rural voters. The cost of a passport, approximately $130, or the fees and travel required to obtain a certified birth certificate can act as a financial barrier. Locating voters. Every time a voter moves and needs to update their registration, they would have to re-verify their citizenship under the new rules.
So, you see right there, any person that moved since the last election, you will have to re-register. Any person that moved since the last election will have to re-register. So if you're thinking that this stuff doesn't apply to you, listen, and that you didn't need a passport because, you know, you already registered, but you just moved, well, the rules will change. You will need a passport this time around. Why? Because you moved or you didn't vote in the last election. You need to be very clear about that so you don't spread false information over the internet. If any American citizen that moved since the last election will likely will have to re-register to vote. And if you don't have a passport, you're going to have to pay $130 for that. Every European, on average, Europeans, after they pay taxes and after they pay their monthly expenses, their bills, their rent, their blah, 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 their transport, their clothes, their food, their la, 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 electrical bill, phone bill, gas, right? All that shit. Keep $1,000 more in their pocket than the average American. Yet, the United States government is asking now for people to pay money to participate in this next upcoming election. I'm just saying, if you think that's fair, the lowest people get paid in Denmark is like $20 an hour, pretty much. The lowest people get paid in the United States of America is $7 an hour. I'm just saying, you know, these are the things they got to factor in. You know, of course, you know, they're asking you to do this while your healthcare expenses are going up too. So, I mean, you know, it's up to you. I mean, these are the people you vote for. These are your representatives. To me, it seems like Democrat minimum wage is much higher in blue states. So it seems like, you know, you might want to think about this, red states. But in any case, let's play.
3. The core debate: integrity versus access. The bill is at the center of a heated national debate regarding the balance between security and the ease of voting. The argument for the act: supporters, including the Trump administration, argue that it is a common-sense measure to ensure that only U.S. citizens decide American elections. They argue that requiring ID is a standard practice for many daily activities, like flying or buying alcohol.
But it's not. And here's the thing. Why isn't the ID that you use to drive a car good enough? What is about all these different kind of IDs? Why does it work that way? I don't need all these different kind of IDs to do all this shit in Denmark. I don't get it. I don't get it. When I vote, I don't even need an ID in Denmark. When I vote in local, because I can't vote for the parliamentary elections because I'm not a citizen. But when I vote for the local elections in the Copenhagen area, right? Because we have local government also. I don't need an ID. I don't understand it. You know, I'm just saying. I don't understand it. You know, to me, but I have health care. I don't need an ID to vote. But my kids have universal health care. I have health care. I don't need an ID to vote. But my kids have universal education. If I want to go back to school, I can go back and get a stipend and be paid to go to school. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm just saying these are things people need to weigh out and ask yourself what's really necessary. What equals what? Exactly. You know, I mean, yeah.
And will restore public trust in election results. The argument against the act: critics and voting rights groups point out that non-citizen voting is already extremely rare. They argue the act creates unfunded mandates for states and could disenfranchise up to 21 million eligible citizens who do not have ready access to the required documents. Current status: the bill passed the House in February 2026. However, Senate Majority Leader John Thune has noted that Republicans currently lack the 60 votes needed to bypass a filibuster. Meanwhile, the administration has suggested it may seek other legal avenues to implement photo ID requirements if Congress does not act. Would you like me to check the specific voter ID and registration requirements currently in place for your state?
Yes. All states. Let's be clear about this, and then I'm going to close out. Yeah, I want to thank everybody for coming out today. I appreciate y'all. Yeah, we're having a real conversation over here for people that want to contribute to the society and the world that they live in. I'm an American citizen born in Washington, D.C. Both of my families go back to the colonial period in the U.S. I love my country, but I moved outside of my country when I was 30 years old. So I've lived abroad a couple of decades now. So if you're here and you want to know a little bit about the differences between the two societies, I can help you bridge that gap with real anthropological, experience on the ground, not just theoretical up in the head, because it's the life I actually have to live. You see what I mean? Now, somebody asked me something in the flying or buying. Somebody asked me, when did I move to Denmark, or why did I move? I don't know. There was a question like that. Flying or buying beer here isn't in the Constitution. Okay, I don't know what that. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna let everybody have their conversations, but let me see here. Let's just go back to that. So I was just telling you, this is why I do my podcast, to help bridge those gaps. I'm just going to tell you, as an American citizen, I am much freer in Denmark. The life I experience in Denmark is one that is more free than the one I experienced in the United States of America. Am I grateful for the one I experienced in the United States of America? Yes, because I grew up, I'm a 70s child. I'm born in the 70s. So I grew up in a time that was very unique also. And I grew up in a city that was very beautiful, Washington, D.C., right? But, there are things that I have to question that we don't question in the United States of America, that we make excuses for. We make excuses for the lack of access to education. We've always made excuses for the lack of access for health care, and we keep on making excuses for how we treat people, for the poor and the middle class, while there's no security there for them, while you can give your life to your country and then come back to a community that has no security there. And I'm talking about services, social services like childcare, access to education, elder care. These kind of things matter in the whole picture. You see what I mean? Why we still don't do crime right, why we're very punitive and not reparative in how we approach things in the U.S. I know in Denmark's very reparative. There's a lot of ways that they do things that are designed to keep you in the society, not push you further out on the edges. You see what I mean? So for that, I have to commend. You can hear I got a little cold, y'all. I have to commend the country, and I recognize the country that I live in for doing that. And in the 60s, Denmark had a class revolution. The United States, we had a racial revolution, discrimination revolution, but we never dealt with the class revolution. And I think this is what's upon us in the U.S. So although all the other issues didn't get solved, the class issue never got touched. It never got touched. And I think we're seeing the signs of it. So let's look over a little bit of this data right here. And then I'm going to go back to the chat, and then I'm going to close out. I'm sure some of y'all have some questions too. So let's go from here. Let's see some of the data on the requirements state by state that already exist. Even though the Save America Act has not passed through the Senate yet, it might pass. There might be some changes, but we need to be ahead of this.
As of early 2026, voter ID and registration requirements vary significantly by state. While the federal SAVE Act, which would mandate strict proof of citizenship and photo ID nationwide, has passed the House, it is not yet federal law. Currently, 36 states have some form of voter ID law, but they range from strict, no ID, no vote, to non-strict, where you can sign an affidavit if you forget your ID. 1. States with strict photo ID requirements. In these states, you must show a government-issued photo ID to vote. If you don't have one, you can only cast a provisional ballot, which won't count unless you return to an election office with ID within a few days. Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Indiana, Kansas, Mississippi, Missouri, Ohio, Tennessee, Wisconsin. 2. States with non-strict photo ID requirements. These states ask for photo ID.
So you see, Already, Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Indiana, Kansas, Mississippi, Missouri, Ohio, and Tennessee and Wisconsin already have what? You must show a government-issued photo ID to vote. But Trump don't even want a government-issued photo ID to vote. He wants only a fucking passport. Do you understand that? He wants you to have a damn passport. Seriously. Government issued ID ain't even good enough anymore. And I bet you a lot of people in these states had to pay for that government issued ID. That government issued ID wasn't free. Like, seriously. I'm just saying, now you got to pay for a new one. All right. So here we go. Let's go to the next one.
But if you don't have it, you can usually still vote by signing a sworn statement, affidavit, or having election officials verify your signature against their records.
Okay, so Florida, Idaho, Louisiana, Michigan, Rhode Island, South Carolina, South Dakota, Texas. These states ask for photo ID, but if you don't have it, you can usually still vote by signing a sworn statement, affidavit, or having election officials verify your signature against their records. So this is sounding, if it's up to you, I'll put it to you this way. Can two people vote with the same address and the same name? Is that possible? Can two people share this? Can a person use the same identity more than once to issue a vote? Is that possible? Do you think that's possible? I don't think that's so possible at all, because from what I've noticed, when you go to these places, they're still verifying who you are and they're checking it off. That's the point of registering to vote. See, the only people that are allowed to vote are people that register. And when you register to vote, they're already checking those things. Same name, same address, same age, same cancels out. You see what I'm saying? So just keep that in mind when you hear this.
Florida, Idaho, Louisiana, Michigan, Rhode Island, South Carolina, South Dakota, Texas. 3. States with non-photo ID requirements. These states allow you to use documents that don't have a picture.
Now look at this, because these are the states that are going to have to run around to get to Trump's. I don't know what they're thinking. These are the states where the people live. These are a lot of these people are Trump supporters, yo. I don't understand it. And why is this not discussed? Look, these states allow you to use documents that don't have a picture, such as utility bill, bank statement, or a voter registration card. So do you understand what's about to hit these states if this passes? And again, why do Republican voters always go for this? Is this what is wrong with y'all, man? What is wrong with y'all? I'm just saying, you guys, you let people divide you, and then it always comes back to target you. I'm just saying, these people have had a history of being able to vote with a utility bill, a bank statement, or a voter registration card. Of course, the voter registration card, only one person with one name, with one identity can vote. Or it gets canceled out. So they still have registration is still occurring. You see, you understand this, right? You understand this, right? So the likeliness anyway of someone who's not an American citizen voting is still very, very slim, because a lot of these states, if you don't vote, you're going to be kicked off of the registry anyway. You see what I mean? All you got to do is not vote one time, and in many of these states, you can be kicked off the voter registration system. You have to apply again to register. You see what I mean? Maybe some states aren't so quick, but just keep that in mind as you hear this.
Such as a utility bill, bank statement, or a voter registration card. Alaska, Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Iowa, Kentucky, Montana, Nebraska, New Hampshire, North Dakota, Oklahoma, Utah, Virginia, West Virginia.
West Virginia. I mean, this is like Appalachia. This is Appalachia. So he's asking a lot of that, not only Appalachia, but he's asking, he's asking places that really don't have an extra buck, especially now due to the healthcare crises, to cough up some more money for documents they've never had to have. You know, that's what's going on right here. And it's $130. I don't know. Is $130 a good amount of money for you? Look, for me, because I have a union job and, you know, I'm pretty fortunate. So $130, I'm always prepared to have an emergency like that. $200, $400, $500 maybe even. I'm always prepared to have an emergency like that. You see what I mean? Because I'm pretty conservative. I don't spend all my money all the time. And I just try to, you know, I try to live a simple and steady life. I don't have expenses like a car anymore because I don't use a car because I live in the city. So the public transport is great here. So I'm just saying these are things to think about. I can afford an emergency here and there and still be okay. But a lot of Americans can't afford an emergency and still be okay, let alone cough up an extra buck. You know, it's just something to think about.
Note: North Carolina and Nevada have 2026 ballot measures or recent law changes that are moving them towards stricter ID requirements. 4. States with no ID required at the polls. In these states, eligibility is verified through your signature at the time of voting. No physical ID document is requested. California, Hawaii, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Nevada, currently, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Vermont, Washington, and D.C. 5. Registration difference.
Okay, so these states have no ID, right? Now, required at the polls. That's at the polls, okay? You might need some ID to register. You might need some other thing, you know, but at the polls, you don't need ID. Now, at the polls, that's going to be very interesting. States with non-ID, you know, I think really what's going to get people here, to be honest, is it's not whether you need the ID. It's the thing about the passport. You know, most people in D.C. have a goddamn government issued ID. You know what I mean? So it's not even a question of whether, you know, the ID they're used to is anyone could pull out an ID out of their pocket in D.C. You know, this is typical for other reasons, too. A driver's license, some other business you got to take care of, a bank, dealing with your bank. You need an ID sometimes, anything. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like these people are used to walking around without something, right? But we're talking about states with no ID required at the polls. That's not the same. You see, where did it come here? Look at this. Where was it at here? A utility bill. Using a utility bill. I mean, I'm just saying, in any case, let's go on.
The SAVE Act would require documentary proof of citizenship, DPOC, at the time of registration, like a birth certificate. Currently, most states only
birth certificate. Look, the SAVE Act would require documentary proof of citizenship, DPOC, at the time of registration, like a birth certificate. Currently, most states only require you to check a box swearing. Do you want to have your birth certificate? Look, do you think you should have your birth certificate when you go vote? Do you think you should have that? I'm just curious. You know, anybody think it's a good idea to have a birth certificate, you know, when they vote? I don't understand what the purpose of having a birth certificate is when I vote. I thought you needed the birth certificate to get the ID. Why not have the ID? Why not be able to use the ID that you had to show your birth certificate to get, or some other verifiable info? I don't get it. To me, it sounds like they just don't have an idea of what's going to happen and are suggesting this just because they don't want people voting this time around. Like, straight up, you know, it doesn't sound like they really thought this out too clearly for what they're asking American citizens to do. Again, this is what they're asking citizens to do. There's no data that suggests that things aren't working just fine as they are. You know what I'm saying? There's no data that suggests on average non-citizens are the ones doing all the voting. You know, there's nothing that suggests that. All that's suggested in the data is that people that are citizens are asking to go out and prove again that they're citizens before they vote this time around. But let me let it play.
Require you to check a box swearing you are a citizen. Feature: current practice, most states, under proposed SAVE Act. Registration, attestation, signature, oath, physical proof, passport, birth cert, deadlines. Varies, 8 to 30 days before, mandatory strict deadlines. Same day reg, available in 23 states plus DC, likely restricted or made difficult.
So same day registration, this is the one I think people need to be most concerned about right now. Of course, the thing about birth certificate and the passport, it requires money. It's not going to be, so it's going to be like, you know, probably to get both of those done, it's going to be about maybe close to $180, right? Because these are real documents that you got to pay for to get, that have to be certified and stamped with a signature. You see what I mean? So, and it's going to take you some time, right? So it could take some people many months in advance to get this. This is why I'm saying this. If it passed this time around, people need to start thinking about what you're going to do to make sure you can vote months, 3-4 months in advance for sure. 3-4 months in advance for sure this time. You have to be ready to make sure that you have everything in order 3 to 4 months in advance, no later than that, because they can make things difficult if this passes. Look, requirement type, strict ID in 10 states already, photo ID. So this is what's already suggested, right? Now, let me see something. How, if you are not registered to vote, what will you need? Let me see, just to make this clear. And then I'm going to be out. Again, I thank everybody for showing up and participating. Here we go. I think this is what people need to know is going to happen this time around, or could happen if they pass this. And it's close to being passed. So, and they're claiming that the American people wanted this. So, you know, American people wanted a lot.
If you are not currently registered to vote, the process is shifting as we move through 2026. While the federal Save America Act is still working its way through the Senate, many states have already adopted its principles. Here's what you will need to get registered today, depending on where you live. 1. The basics required in every state, regardless of new laws. Every state requires these 3 things to register: a social security number, specifically the last 4 digits. A residential address. You must live in the district where you are.
So you hear that? So that means they can identify who is a citizen and who's not a citizen through your social security number. I hope you realize that, right? Now, when you know your last 4 digits, the person with your same social security number cannot register twice. You understand that, right? So when you're allowed to vote, it's only under one number. Once that number is used, it can therefore not be used again in that same election. For that, you see what I mean? So let's continue.
Registering. P.O. boxes usually cannot be your primary residence. Age requirement. You must be 18 by election day. Some states allow you to pre-register at 16 or 17. 2. Proof of citizenship. The new SAVE standard. Under the proposed federal law and in states like Arizona, Mississippi, and New Hampshire, you can no longer just check a box saying you are a citizen. You may need to provide one of the following primary documents, one of these: U.S. passport or passport card, certified birth certificate, original or a copy with a raised seal.
Now, most people are not going to have the original. Most people will have copies and are used to using copies, because copies used to be eligible as a second type of, you know, a confirmation of your citizenship. You see what I mean? Or your ID, or second or third. You know, usually states ask you for 3-4 different things to verify who you are, right? So a lot of people have been accustomed to copies, But certified, that's the kind that I have. It's a newer type of birth certificate. It's not my original. You see what I mean? But I needed it to do some business outside of the U.S., so I went ahead and got that too. It makes it easier, right? And but let's continue. One of these. So one of these: passport, certified birth certificate, consular report of birth abroad. If you were born abroad, I wasn't. Naturalized certificate of citizenship. If you're naturalized, that means you weren't born in America, but you became a citizen after. Now, for this, U.S. passport or passport card, that requires time. If you're not flying out of the country anytime soon, right? This is going to possibly take you 5-6 months. And right now, with the Department of State, it might take longer because it's not even really being funded. This is you got to understand, there's problems right now. Things are not operating like they did in 2024. Things are not operating the same way. So I hope people that are thinking about this passport are thinking early, not thinking at the last minute, right? Certified birth certificate. That's not a 1 week process. It's not a 1 week process, so let's home in on these things right here. I'm going to go back to that secondary option. If you have no primary documents, a government issued photo ID plus a secondary document like a hospital birth record or a signed affidavit. Through affidavits are being restricted. Affidavits cost probably going to cost you $100 easily. Okay. Just understand that. The name match requirement. This is a critical point for anyone who has changed their name, right? This is where it gets tricky. Anyone who has changed their name through a marriage or divorce, the name of your birth certificate doesn't match your name or your current ID, you may need to have a bridge document. Marriage certificate, divorce decree, court ordered name change. That's an extra thing for women, obviously. So there's another dynamic to this. So people that come from all these states now that have all these new rules under the SAVE Act, you will have this extra dynamic to do that men will not have to worry about, because this is a cultural dynamic. Women generally in the U.S. change their name when they're married, right? If they're following the traditional, you could say if they're following the Christian method, right? The women change their name. That's what typically happens a lot, right? It's not or Western Christian. It's not Christian, it's Western Christian, right? So these are some extra dynamics here. How to register. Okay, you got to go. Available online in 42 states. Not all states, but 42. Usually need state issued driver's license or ID card to use online portal because the system pulls your signature from the DMV. In person, the motor voter way. You can register at the DMV when you get or renew your license. You can also keep your local thing. Now, let me see something. Most states require, let me ask another question. How long does it take to get a passport or a certified birth certificate? I was outside of the country when I had to do this certified birth certificate, so it took me a little bit of while and back and forth and things like that. But processing time. All right, look at this. U.S. passport timelines 2026 has improved. Oh, it says they improved it, but okay. But you still need to count door-to-door time, okay? So routine 4 to 6 weeks. Total time with shipping 8 to 10 weeks, right? Cost first time cost $165. If you want to expedite it, $225. So people that have more money will benefit from these services more. Urgent travel, appointment only. So that's if you have a ticket already, things like that, you can request it expedited, but you will still have to pay this extra fee, right? So you got to have a plane ticket to get it expedited for that emergency or urgent travel, right? So let's see here. Now, here's the thing. If you, this could be longer for some people. Why? Because what if they all of a sudden say, hey, they need a birth certificate and you don't have one? What if they they could what if they say we want more records from you per se? We don't know much activity. What if they say they want proof of presence, for example? You know what proof of presence is? They might want you to come up with documents that show a span of your time in the U.S. for quite some time. Like, you don't know what can come out of this, right? So, pro tip, when you're renewing an online passport, okay, 2 to 3 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, right? Look at this. The 6-month rule. Remember that many countries won't let you enter if your passport expires within 6 months. Okay, so that's different. Okay. Certified birth certificates. The time it takes depends entirely on the state and country where you're born. Okay. In person, fastest near your place, it says 30 to 60 minutes, 15 to 30 calls. Okay, well, damn. Okay, online. Okay, this is where I come in. Online vital check. This is official third party. Oh, this is different from me. Mine took maybe 5 weeks, to be honest. And mine was from DC. So, look, I'm going to tell you straight up, don't rely on this right here. Don't rely on it. You should do it in advance. That's my best advice. Do it well in advance. Like, do this shit tomorrow. If you can, go ahead and do it tomorrow because, you know, you just never know what things. I know one time I went in to get a passport and I never had this issue ever in my life getting a passport. And all of a sudden they asked me for proof of presence. All right. After I've been living outside of the U.S. for 15 years? And I was like, proof of presence? What do you mean by that? And they explained it to me. They wanted me to go back and get prior records from when, you know, school records, tax records, early on, things that I didn't have at my disposal. You understand that? So this is likely what's going to happen with a lot of people like that are trying to get a passport or, you know, particularly this passport. So just keep this in mind. What could happen? There might be a couple of extra hurdles that, you know, folks may want to be aware of. But I'm just saying all of this because I feel like, you know, they want people to not vote. And they're already aware that 80 million Americans didn't vote in the last election. American citizens did not vote in the last election. And this is probably going to make it to be 100 million. You see what I'm saying? And I just think that's no way that a reflection of the people can come out of a process that way. If you only got, you know, if you have even less participants, we're not supposed to have 80 million people, citizens not voting. So, just keep that in mind. But in any case, I'm going to be out. Let me see here. Let me look at the chat and just see what's going on. Sorry if that took me a minute. I'm going to mention this midterm shit over and over and over because I think it's foul that they just do it in an election year. I don't get that part. I think there should be more exceptions. States should be given time to implement federal law, not just from one day to the next. I think that's not fair. But let me see here. Edward wrote, wake up because representatives serve 2-year terms. The president serves 4-year term. Senators serve 6-year term. We have elections every 2 years. Exactly. Non-presidential elections are midterm. Right. So exactly. I don't know why they didn't do it in one of these off years where there's no election. But let me see. And Taybun says, and the party you pick will determine outcomes for the president. Yeah. The party you pick will in the midterms it's going to pick how these laws are written, you know, what kind of laws are going to be passed. Because if you don't write any laws, then all you're going to get from a president is executive order, you know, but they can force the president to sign some things. You know, I think this is what happens. Congress and the Senate, if they have the supermajority in both that write laws and sign them, right, they go to the president's desk. The president can veto it, but you know what happens when you have the supermajority? It goes back to both and they can say, no, we reject this veto. This will be law, and it can happen. Let me go over that. Let me see here. This is what happened with the Epstein Act, right? Why did the Epstein Act not need the president's signature, and why could it become law without it? Yeah, let's see here. Yeah, this is what actually happened. People ask, when people say the president was forced to sign the Epstein Act, you know, it's because of a misunderstanding. He wasn't forced to, but they would be able to make it law without him. Here we go. The Epstein Files Transparency Act did receive the president's signature, right? However, it's a unique case because it almost became law without the president's initial support. Here's why it was able to bypass the usual executive resistance and why some may think it didn't need a signature. The veto-proof majority. See? The bill passed the House with a staggering 427 to 1 vote. Only one member didn't support it. And passed by the Senate by unanimous consent. All members voted for it in the Senate. In the U.S. legal system, if a bill has this much bipartisan support, a presidential veto is essentially useless. If the president had vetoed it, Congress could have immediately overridden him with 2/3 of the vote, making it law anyway. So everybody needs to understand why this upcoming election is important, because you can get anything, any injustice you think that has been done against the American people, lack of health care, lack of education, lack of elder care, lack of child care, lack of anything. You can resolve this when you vote for Congress members and Senate members. This is how important they are, because they can stop any veto. They can be veto proof. The president can't even veto if you got Americans, all representatives that agree that Americans need all that for their tax dollars. You understand it? So get out there and vote. Don't sleep on your power. You know what I'm saying? Don't sleep on the power. And who enforces it? Well, listen, you can make a president enforce it. But right now, the reason why the president's not enforcing laws is because the Congress and the Senate aren't making him do it. Very simple, because you can impeach him. That's how you enforce it, my friend. So understand where the power lies. The power, the power in the, excuse me. The power in the United States system of government lies in the Congress and in the Senate primarily. They are the ones that have the right to impeach anyone, any Supreme Court justice, any president, any administration of figures. Right? The power doesn't lie in the military. Actually, it doesn't. And that's where the issue. That's where you kind of undermining democracy, my friend, by saying that. And here's the thing: the military cannot interfere in domestic disputes. You see, and the elections the military can't. Yeah, and it shouldn't. You're right, and I am. They shouldn't, and they can't. Now, not legally, they can't. You see, so we're talking about law here. Now, if you want to talk about criminality, then everything can happen, right? So, but of course, we're not doing that because we want people to vote. Isn't that right? Wake up, mate. Don't you want people to vote? I mean, because unless, I don't see, this is important. If you don't want people to vote, then this is the conversation that we have, that their vote doesn't matter. You see what I'm saying? So I want people to vote. So I'm going to tell you why you should vote. Okay? So let me continue telling people why they should vote. Because in the Constitution, anyway, man, in the Constitution, whether you like it or not, it states where the power lies. And here's the thing. if you want to have the power of impeachment, right, over any department, over any branch of government, it lies with the Congress and with the Senate. A supermajority of members can impeach anyone else. They can even impeach a general from the military. They can impeach anyone from the Supreme Court, the military, the Congress. Even they can impeach a sitting director of any agency. This is the power. The real power lies, according to the Constitution, in the Congress and in the Senate. Now, who you vote for? Guess what's happening this year, y'all? Let's take up some energy talking about what's happening this year. You're having an election in 2026. Who is that for? Congressional members, right? Now, let's see here. It's called the midterm elections. Let's see. What elections are happening in the USA this year on the federal level? Just so we have some context to this conversation, because some people might forget that this is what we're talking about: election, right? The Save America Act, what it could mean, what you could do to make sure you're registered, how it actually works right now, the voting, and we're going to continue down that path, right? So, 2026 midterm election year, because we are halfway through the presidential Trump second term, there's no presidential election, right? So on November 3rd, 2026, the following federal seats will be on the election ballot. Okay. So, but this is only for people that are interested in voting, which I hope you are. U.S. House of Representatives, all 435 seats. Every single voting member of the House is up for election every 2 years. That's what Edward also pointed out. The stakes. What are the stakes? Republicans currently hold a narrow majority. Democrats need a net gain of just 3 to 4 seats to take control, but they don't have the supermajority. So if you want impeachment power, you need supermajority pretty much in both houses, because to guarantee it, right? Or you need supermajority means enough people that want to, from either side, that make a supermajority that want to impeach. Now, retirements. 2026 has seen a record-breaking number of retirements, over 50 so far. So 50 people have retired from the House. All right, including long-standing figures like Nancy Pelosi, Steny Hoyer, and and it means there's some extra open seats there, right? So U.S. Senate. What else is there? 35 seats. The U.S. Senate only has 100 seats, right? I believe that, right? So now you got 35 seats, right? So senators serve 6-year terms. So only about 1/3 of the Senate is up for election. So this is this year. So this is a big year for voters. This is a very special year for voters, which is why you should probably want people to vote, and you should probably want to talk about what do you get from your vote? How does voting work? What is the purpose in voting? All right. Before you dismiss it as being not important. Regular elections, 33 seats. These are Class 2 seats. Notable incumbents up for re-election, including John Kennedy, right? Jan Ossoff and Susan Collins for Maine. She's probably going to lose her seat. Special elections, 2 seats. There are 2 extra races, so there's 2 more races to fill seats vacated by members who joined the Trump administration. Okay, damn. Florida, Marco Rubio's term, right, is up, and also Ohio, J.D. Vance's term. So their seats are up for grabs, right? Now, key dates on the calendar. Look at this. March 3rd, that's coming up. You see why it's important to talk about registering and why it's important to talk about voting? Like, really, people should start voting, doing shit right now. Make sure you are registered to vote today. Call your local election office in your state and ask them, give them your social security number. Ask them, tell them you want to verify whether you are registered to vote or not, and what you need to do to vote this year in these next elections. You need to be very, very specific. Throw all generalizations out the window. They are no good for you in this election. Even if the Save American Act doesn't pass, stop generalizing. Your life is worth more. Okay, so March 3rd, I even forgot this. That's what I'm saying. March 3rd, Super Tuesday, primaries, Arkansas, North Carolina, and Texas kick off the season. May and June, the bulk of state primaries. So these are the primaries too. You want to participate. The primaries are different though. Okay. August, late summer primaries in the states. Like, yeah, all these states got primaries. And November 3rd is the real voting, is the real, when you decide who's going to represent your state after the primaries. The primaries are like Democrats have primaries among themselves, Republicans have primaries among themselves, and they decide who will go up to vote for the main election, right? So election day, general election for all the federal and state offices. So that's, you see that? All federal state offices. So that's congressional members, senators, right? Now, why is this year different? Redistricting fallout. Several states like Ohio, Utah, and Louisiana are using new or revised congressional maps due to recent court rulings on gerrymandering. This could flip seats that were previously considered safe. The midterm curse. Historically, the president's party almost always loses seats in the midterms. Republicans are fighting to break the trend, while Democrats are banking on it reclaiming the House. Okay, so when you think of the Epstein files, think of all of this playing into it. What's going to come out of the Epstein files? Think about this. You have a president that basically has a DOJ that says it's done. The files are released. It's over. No more releases. We've done our job. And you have the others that are saying in the Congress that are saying you haven't done your job. You have not lived up to the bill that was just signed by the president. Right. Now, how would you resolve this dispute? You would resolve it through having a majority of Congress and the Senate. Why? Because then you could impeach Pam Bondi. Then you could impeach Kash Patel. Then you could impeach Trump. Then you could impeach anyone who's playing a role in not releasing the files. So in theory, at least, and maybe you won't do it, but in theory, you could actually resolve this problem this year just through the votes this time around. You could, in theory, whether you do it or not, whether you take it serious or not, your voting right, that's up to you. So having said that, I'm going to be out. I think I've done my job for the day. I will be voting. I have my passport already. I have my shit together. You see what I mean? Even though my taxes don't go to the U.S., I still have to show them the taxes I pay. I still have to report the taxes I pay to the U.S. government. And why do I have to report them? So I can continue to vote, so I can continue to have a passport, so I can continue to do all my other federal business that has to be maintained. I'm a dual citizen. A dual resident. That means I have residency in the United States and I have residency here in my hometown in the United States, and I have residency in the country I live in Denmark. So I have to maintain them. It's called dual residency. So, I just hope people understand that. So I still have things to do. I'm still concerned about how the government is run in my home country, the country where I was born, the country where my family comes from, my birth family, right? And I'm concerned for my fellow Americans, the state of the country right now. So I'm going to do my part. Listen, man, look, you're not my friend, wake up, mate. So listen, you only hear out of courtesy because I like to hear difference of opinion. But if you want to be really silly and petty, well, you don't have to be here, my friend. So listen, I'm just going to hide you from the channel because we can only have serious people here. And listen, it's not a biggie. You know what I'm saying? But you won't be back here with the same name, okay? And if you do come back with the same name, I'm going to do the same thing because I like to punish people that play with my time, okay? Don't be a little annoying gnat on the wall, okay? Be serious. Join the conversation. You're here to dialogue with me. So appreciate the fact that I was willing to, but you got to pay for wasting people's time. So on that note, I'm out. I appreciate everybody. And we'll be back another day for the same conversation until things get changed. All right. So I appreciate y'all. Look out for each other and register to vote. Like, register to vote straight up. Yeah. Okay. Well, you know, it's like, somebody, you know, anyway, it's all good. I will fix that if that's the case. I appreciate you.
I know how to see a whack MC when he bustin', but I just back away real cool, no fussin'. I'd rather go kicking in the streets with the bums and use the knowledge to collect what? Some funds. Open a non-profit and build a damn school. And this is the story of how a great king rules. There's many that claim to know the local demographic, but don't have the nerve to tell you the truth. It's tragic, but I do, so sit back and let me spit this shit to you. You feel better when I spit this shit to you, despite the system trying to clamp down on the people. People will learn how to stand up to evil. Not evil that's across the globe, that's too far, but evil that lies in their own backyard. And fighting, it's not an option, they can't win. The government, it's not supposed to represent sin, but then again they do, and that's a problem. So let's go down and figure out how to solve them. It's not fun being a rapper that can't speak, but we do, yes, and plus we make fat beats. Yo, we smoke weed, break up trees. Listen, bringing fat beats, that is our mission. You wanted to see us, homeboy, shut up and listen. Thelonious and Big Bennett, brother, check the vision. Mentalities of different realities. Enter the Star Trek room when you hear the boom. I be the Walkman with the super bass. Automatic stop, yes, stereo cassette player. With the delayer, freaky lyrical sprayer. Extraterrestrial rhyme sayer. I be the poetical VIC/master of the ceremony. Testimony, won't you come step with me? I'm on a historical journey. Kinda like Sigourney. Implore me to represent the attorney that represents my niggas, go figure. It's the card, they call me Uncle Bigger. Niggas love your blunts, down your liquors. I be the parallel to the fiction. You're fixated on this brother's nature. Relaxed behavior, I might save your change. Flip it, rearrange the whole concept. You was good for all your brain. Insane, psychotic, neurotic, black onyx, and hooked on phonics, just atomic. Bees like a bonnet, cut with the Asiatic, they all up on it. Rhyme static with the Bugatti type of skill. You wonder, is this nigga Vic really for real? It's still, but only necessary in the berry. I'm milk like dairy, they quite contrary. That's scary, but I'm a dog in the prairie. I scurry to grab my bones and just bury. Lyrical flurry, go get your secretary with impeccable dictions. My style might vary, so get a hold of your own shit real fast. Fucking with us, we take it right out your ass. Prairie dogs chill while the other dogs howl. Too many dogs get sent to the pound. Back on the hill, me and my peeps just lounge. Prairie dogs, we keep it on the down. Splatter, don't like gun splatter. We try to climb the ladder, wicked men get better. They make it like splatter, but it really don't matter. Cause you know we coming back to our sons and our daughters. So follow him, the one who protects ya. And the mother, she will never neglect ya. Through divine nature, the people respect ya. And in this way I deliver my lecture. walking. Sometimes I think about, does love still exist? Yeah, I have my doubts. On the street, I check out how brothers be living. Yo, let's just say, kid, it ain't no Thanksgiving. We got people shooting dope, ain't never heard of hope. We got others with the gat and the brothers with the fucking scope. As I enter the project center rec rooms, some brothers might see the doom. I see my nigga Paulo, fat pockets of papes. He knows the neighborhood biddies with all the dopest shapes. They go Dralo with the blowout fro. He's got a gap, hey yo niggas gots to go. No show is live with narrating, fuck Memorex. My nigga Rollo's got a gat at Paulo's chest. One slug blasted out, down boy died. Now show me some love, kid, it sounds like a fucking yes, you lie. know the struggle goes on. People trying to survive, hold on. But we know it's been so long. Pain without a limit, so wrong. Sometimes I think how the world come to this. A place where every man and woman needs a therapist. Mass confusion, people living in delusion. Justify all the bullshit through the Constitution. Meanwhile, the masses struggle to survive. I think we're too busy to hear our people's cries. Singles mothers struggle to raise families. Genocide committed through famine and disease. I wonder if these things will ever cease to exist. I know it could if we cease and desist. Giving all the power to the industrialists. Giving all our power to the damn commercialists. They see us just as being sheep in this world. They want us to do what we're told, like boys and girls. Oh God, I wanna live another day so I can help provide equality and this yes, you day. know, the struggle goes on. People trying to survive, hold on. Though we know it's been so long. Pain without a limit, so wrong. Everybody around the globe, open up your earlobe, your third eye, and then decipher the code. Through knowledge, understanding, then bring love into the concept instead of bling bling. Truth instead of biased educational methods. Twisting, contorting God's message of love for every human being. Listen, motherfucker, don't you hear the screams? It's time to do much more than talk, debate, and spread hate. We need to think and at the same time investigate. Understand what our actions may create. Before continuing the cycle we procreate. We can clone humans, but at the same time we can't feed humans. The future of man is actually looming. It's really depressing, it's true. And yes, you know the struggle goes on. People trying to survive, hold on. But we know it's been so long.